where corruption and evil reign. This summer, the fight for truth continues. The Red Pill Project, Alpha Warrior, DEFCON ZERQ.
Another head hangs slowly, child is slowly taken. The violence causes silence. Who are we taking? Tanks and their bombs and their guns and their guns. Your head, they're crying. Your head.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
What's in your head?
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. There is nothing the political establishment will not do.
DEFCON ZERQ.
God, that gets me fired up every time.
Does, right?
Oh, every time. And so if you want to laugh real quick, and the Rumble's premiering us, so we got a big audience tonight.
Love
so
it.
thank you guys for joining. If you're first time to Badlands Media, first time watching DEFCON, the content is free, so smash that thumb, hit a like, get in the live chat, meet the family. Leave some comments. The show's been in the leaderboard every time we've done it, and that's all a testament to your guys' support. So again, thank you. But here's the funny. So, I have the thumbnail that plays for about a minute, and then the intro goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm looking at you, send me the message, hey, we're being premiered. So I'm like, yeah, baby, I'm all pumped up, right? And then I'm looking down, I go, oh, I haven't put the intro yet. So I'm like, I gotta get it before it's done, and made it by a hair. Again, welcome to DEFCON ZERQ, folks. You'll see there's a little leg on that zero. Most of you will understand what that is. If you don't, by the end of this show, you will. I want to make an announcement real quick, Josh,
Sure.
and then I'll give it over to you. This is episode 10 of DEFCON ZERQ, and we come into this episode already breaking 1 million views.
Crazy, isn't it?
9 shows, 1 million views. The people love the information you put out there. The audience is in support of each other. People want the truth, bro, and people want to see these decodes done in a way that's never been done before. And I would think the reason this show continues to grow is the level of accuracy, bro. Now granted, we've been threading the needle with this stuff, because as soon as we say it, the following week it's boom, 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 boom. And so with that, man, that's my opening rant. It's Taco Tuesday. It's yours, brother. What do you want to say to everybody?
Well, first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and bow our heads and just have a moment of silence for a lost brother out there, Boone Cutler. Rest in peace, brother.
I'll load a video that I played for him specifically, and we'll do it on the way out tonight. But I'll load it right now so that way we have it.
It's an interesting time to be alive, guys. Our last episode we came on, we talked a lot about the Charlie Kirk assassination. Since that time, things have definitely not gotten more contradictory, more confusing. The official government narrative, whether it's Utah State Police or the FBI, is falling apart. We're seeing the X community blowing up with social influence campaigns. How do you know when you're in a PSYOP? You are in a PSYOP. How do you know you're in a PSYOP? Open your X app and just start reading, because you are in a PSYOP. And you know, I find this interesting because there's probably a lot of new people joining us tonight. They probably don't know necessarily what the show is and what we talk about. We talk about what I call the unfolding global conspiracy. This is unfiltered, uncensored, unfolding. This is where we break down what is happening in the world and the geopolitical, the geoeconomic, and behind the scenes. Alpha and I, we've been doing this for a very, very long time. We have very, very good contacts, whether it's military, Washington, D.C., and politics, and Congress, so forth. We have a really good, thorough understanding of what's happening, and we do a lot of predictive analysis, and we have been fairly accurate over the course of the last few months, few years. And, you know, where we are at right now is such a critical time for the Trump administration, for the United States of America, because we are at that heightened point of vulnerability. We have a rabid, injured animal that is against the wall, that is about to lash out. And that's the way that you have to look at the deep state. That's the way you have to look at the globalists. If the speech today at the United Nations told you anything, it's that Donald Trump thinks of these people as filth, as the garbage of the earth, and he is going to bury them with how he can do that: policy, regulation, and irregular warfare. And this is exactly what we are seeing happening and unfold right now. And we're going to talk about this tonight in the context of my belief, my understanding, my perspective, that military is the only way. The question is how did that organize? How did that come about? How is that structured? And how would it work constitutionally? Because one thing that we have to remember about all of this stuff that Donald Trump's doing from his first term into this term is that everything has to be constitutional. It has to be lawful. This is what they always say. We're going to do things by the book. And it's one of the most important things to remember about the Trump administration is they're trying to do everything by the book. On the other side of the house, after the Charlie Kirk assassination, one thing I'm going to say for certain is right now what we have is perceptual optics. Okay? The Trump administration, in my opinion, and I don't even want to say the administration, I think that's just a few key players in the Trump administration, from Donald Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, Hegseth, Stephen Miller, these people. They are doing perceptual optics. What do I mean by that? They're appearing to be weak. They're appearing to be compromised. They're appearing to be under duress when they're really in a position of strength. And this will make a lot more sense as we go down the road. And it has a lot to do with a post that says saving Israel for last. And by the way, I will throw the disclaimer out there. When Alpha or myself say Israel, we are not talking about the biblical Israel. We are not talking about the good, amazing Jewish people around the world. We're not talking about the people of Israel. We are specifically talking about the deep state of Israel, Netanyahu's regime, which I believe is the deep state of Israel. And we are talking about the evil aspects of not necessarily a culture, a people, an ethnicity, a religion, but instead a very, very select group of few who utilize their power and their money to influence the world in directions that move towards their own agendas. I hope that the disclaimer reaches everybody, because we are not trying to be on that side of the curve here. I got a lot of Jewish friends. Alpha's got a lot of Jewish friends. My great grandmother's Jewish, Russian Jew. Listen, we're not those types of people. We love these types of people. What I want to make the clear distinction, when we say the U.S. government funded terrorism in the Middle East, we're not saying that the people of the United States of America or all of Congress and Senate had knowledge of this. We're talking about the deep intelligence apparatus that operates underneath the Central Intelligence Agency, within the Defense Intelligence Agency, within the Pentagon, that utilize various different covert services and acts and laws to basically implement this type of funding operations or the arming operations of radical groups around the world. So it's the same context. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that, because we're probably going to say Israel a few times tonight, and I don't want people to get their panties in a bunch. So there's the disclaimer.
100%. So with that, let's pay some bills. Let's get two of our awesome sponsors done. We'll save the final one for the end. So first on deck, here you guys go.
Howdy, Badlanders. Looking for something new to grab from your friends at Badlands Media and Rise Attire? Summertime is here. We got you covered. All new tank tops for men and women, featuring new iterations of the Devolution design in black, red, white, and even blue and green digital camo. Sick. We got them for Psywar and Clown World too. How about these bad boys? Psywar, Clown World, and Devolution beach towels to help you spark up a conversation with your new best friend or future spouse at the pool. And by popular demand, we've got all new athletic women's leggings that'll have you red pilling all the ladies in your Pilates class, whether they like it or not. Too bad. This is Badlands, baby, and we're strapped. Get some and support the new media parallel economy as much as fucking possible at badlandsmedia.tv/rise.
Save Pulse is dedicated to keeping you and your family healthy with top quality medications like amoxicillin, azithromycin, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine at unbeatable prices. The streamlined ordering process makes it easy to stock up on your health essentials. And now, with exciting news about fenbendazole showing promise in cancer research, they proudly offer this alongside antibiotics and viral care meds. Don't wait. Prepare for any healthy scenario today. Get your supply and stay ahead of the curve with Save Pulse. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/meds and use the promo code SAVEHEALTH at checkout to get a 20% discount on orders over $100. Again, visit badlandsmedia.tv/meds and use promo code SAVEHEALTH at checkout for that 20% discount on orders over $100. With that, the audience has jumped another couple thousand, so it looks like it's going to be a fun night.
Oh God, love it.
One of the things that I sign off on everything that Josh said. I agree with him completely on that, and I think that was a perfect disclaimer for those that are new to the show tonight. But in addition to these great sources of information that we have, from our respected networks, the other thing that's really cool is that a lot of these sources also watch the show.
They do.
And they want to see where our assessments are, what our analysis looks like. And I have a couple of different theories of why they do that. And I'm sure you do as well. But every now and then, we throw a fastball and we get it just outside the strike zone. And one of us will get the call and be like, hey, gentlemen, there's a little more to this. Or maybe you want to look here. Or maybe you want to research this. Or here's a US code to look at. And then we'll get into it. We'll start digging. Me and Josh will have a conversation. And in that conversation, it typically goes something like this. Holy shit, bro. This is what this is. And it just clicks. And then we're all fired up. And we're like, I can't wait for Tuesday to get this show together. So just understand that these same people that keep us to task also make sure that they help keep us accurate. And that way that information is related over to you guys. Yeah. As accurate in real time as possible. So I just wanted to add that. Where do you want to start tonight? I mean, we're on the heels of a lot of things that are significant, but there's also a lot of things that are about to happen, right? That people need to be ready for.
I think the first thing that we need to do is we need to clear the air. And I mean clear the air because everybody's noticing this, everybody's seeing this. And so if you don't know who Chase Hughes is, he's the founder of NCI. He's a retired U.S. Navy sailor. After he got out, he got a degree in neuroscience. He learned how the brain operates, but he's always been fascinated with psychological warfare. And he became probably one of the foremost experts in the world on how psychological warfare operations operate.
Tell me you like him.
Oh, dude, I love this guy. He's awesome.
Do you want to have him on the show? Because he's going to come on my show. I can bring him on.
Oh, I put the request in like 2 days ago.
Okay, it is on.
Okay. Well, I'll come on with you. We'll do it then. So I want people to listen to what Chase is saying here. Okay.
You only need one thing, and you can spot whether or not you're standing in the middle of a psyop. That one thing is if the opinion that's coming out needs people to be silenced, it's a psyop. There are psychological operations in play.
Wow. So if you can't question it, if you're supposed to just go along, it's a psyop.
Yeah, and if people have to be silenced or publicly shamed because of their information, and they're not telling people the sky's falling, they're not saying crazy shit. Mm-hmm. They're just saying basic stuff, and they need to be silenced. That is a psyop.
Sound familiar?
Most definitely.
That's the
does.
last 2 weeks that we've been living in on social media. Is everybody trying to control the narrative? Everybody countering information of questions with statements that they proclaim to be fact, but yet are not. You are in the middle of a psychological warfare campaign. And as I described it on my show, Alpha, if you're confused, that's good, because you're in a psyop that's countering a psyop that's countering a psyop. And what that means is that there's multiple operations right now being done on the American people by foreign intelligence apparatuses. And I think everybody's beginning to see this, at least in the context of one specific country that I mentioned earlier, with their intelligence operations being very, very active. Now, I don't think we need to break down that whole construct of how social influencers are recruited and then paid, and how that payment doesn't actually come from a foreign entity or a foreign intelligence apparatus. Instead, it's done through American entities, and it's done through the backdrop. And there's a few different reasons why that happens. And I think that maybe that's something we'll talk about in another day in the sense of the funding, because Alpha and I have deeply investigated the funding of dark money, how they all operate, the Soros down to BLM into Antifa, of how all that operates. But there's a whole other aspect of this, of how social media influencers are recruited into these paradigms and then controlled. They're controlled voices. And you can just go out on X and you can see it all day long, watch the repetitive echo chamber over and over and over and over again. We primarily see it with the left, but over the last 2 weeks, we've seen it with the right. And we actually seen it a few different times. When they first started attacking Bobby Kennedy a few months ago, when they started attacking Trump over Iran, when they started attacking Trump again over the Epstein files. And so these are classic indications of psychological warfare operations. And you got to ask yourself, who is doing them? And once you start to unravel that, you begin to see a bigger picture start to unravel.
100%. Just so the audience knows, the Rumble rants we will be reading at the end of the show. So any questions you want to do there, any shout outs, put them in the Rumble rants, and we're about 99.9% certain we'll read just about anything you put out there. I'm going to say 99.9 because I know somebody will want to push the envelope. But what we will do, because they disappear, is the gifted subscriptions. So Breadmaker62, thank you, gifted 5 subscriptions to Badlands Media. And then Kavaltra also gifted 5 subscriptions to Badlands Media. So thank you both for that support.
Yep.
And let's rock and roll. Let's get into this now.
Yeah, and just one short thing, the reoccurring theme that I saw all the way up until Sunday with Erica Kirk's speech at Charlie's memorial was something that she said. I found the timing quite interesting because, obviously Boone Cutler had passed away, and Boone had a certain tattoo of Isaiah 6:8 on his arm. And Erica came out and said the same thing. And this seems to be a recurring theme that I'm seeing throughout all of the Patriot community the last few days is Isaiah 6:8. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?" And I said, "Here I am. Send me." And I think that we're at that point, guys. I think we're at that precipice moment in this whole construct that we're seeing unfold in front of us, that time has come.
It most definitely has. And I want to rewind the clock just a little bit to it would have now been two DEFCONs ago, number 8, I believe. And Bukali, if I said his name correctly, he puts out a post, and we talked about it at length. Buckle up, Buttercup. Remember that?
The next day's Delta was buckle up, Buttercup. Things are about to get bumpy.
And I want to bring that up on the screen so everybody can see this particular post that we're talking about. And
that was what day? Look at the day. Look at the day of that post.
And that is why I wanted to bring it up. This is dated September 10th of 2018. Buckle up, Buttercup. It's about to get bumpy. This is the day of the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
That's right. And it's not the only things that happened that day. And we can discuss some of that time frame.
It's not. And the reason I wanted to show that one, and I'll show another one here in just a second, is one of the most common questions that I get. And I don't know if you get this one as well, Josh. whether it's DM, emails, text messages, and I'm truly fascinated by how some of our audience members can actually figure out our phone numbers. I'll get a text. I'm like, how'd you get my number? They're like, anyways, let's get into this conversation. I'm all, you stalker, but I love you, so we're good. And the question is, if they knew Charlie Kirk was going to get assassinated, why'd they let him? And so my thought process here, and again, this is my thought process. This isn't the gospel. Is these things are indicators that an event is going to unfold.
Right.
They may have an idea of the theme. They may even have an idea that a person will be targeted. It doesn't necessarily mean that they know who or where. And there's lots of major events that are taking place. We just don't see them as major because nothing bad unfolds, nothing happens. But you pretty much look at any speaking event that Trump goes to. If something was to happen, it would be considered a major event, even if the topic or the conversation was not considered something major. It's the incident. And so I wanted to share that. But here's the other thing that I wanted to share, because the other thing from that date, and let me zoom out of this for a little bit so everybody can see. This is also to September 10th. And let me bring it up so you can all see. This is post 2127. And it says, your vote counts. It says, we will do our job to protect the vote. Will you do yours? Fight, fight, fight.
Now, the last time that was popular was during Butler, Pennsylvania, during the Trump's attempted assassination with a bullet grazed by his ear.
I promise you, folks, this show is not scripted.
Nope.
That is why I brought it up. So these two things now, because hindsight's always 2020, these two things tell me that they probably anticipated a assassination or a hit, something that was going to happen, because obviously we know fight, fight, fight is tied to Butler. And then we have the September 10th, buckle up, Buttercup, kind of using the two together. And there's more, but these two together, kind of mirror that conversational piece. And again, this is why, and when we had the conversation back then, if you guys will remember, me and Josh said, all of a sudden they relocate Baron Trump. Trump brings them into the nest to protect them.
It's really important. And so I think we described this in DEFCON 1 or 2, is that we got fairly good confirmation that the Pentagon has some highly advanced AI software that they've been using since 2010. And what it is predictive analytical software. If you just imagine taking 20 years of social media behavioral and analytical data and feeding it into a chat GPT 2.0 on a large scale, you should be able to have a highly accurate level of predictive analytics for future events, a few days, a week, a few months into the time, just because of the way the world operates with the context of human interaction and behaviors and so forth. You can even extrapolate that out to years, but your accuracy might reduce to 60 or 50%. And, 5 or 10 years down the road, it might be 30%, but there's still that probable chance. And a lot of, I think what we're seeing, at least in the context of the Trump administration, kind of knowing the playbook and understanding what's happening, is this predictive analytics. And Alpha just nailed it. The morning of September 10th, Donald Trump removed Baron Trump from NYU and brought him back to Washington, D.C. with an enhanced Secret Service detail where he's going to attend remote classes at NYU from the White House. Now, why is that interesting? Well, number one, it wasn't just the Secret Service getting a call saying, hey, bring Barron home. He's late for dinner. It was, from what I gather, intelligence that came through of something was going to happen in the context of an assassination and someone close. And that's why Barron was rushed out and gotten out of there and brought back to the White House. Now,
and to add to that, we learned through the media, because mainstream media reported it. I think this was about 3 or 4 days ago. You have the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, is being given a Secret Service detail.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that they've hinted is that it's coming off the heels of the assassination to Charlie Kirk. So there is real-time intelligence to support, from mainstream media, the information that you're hearing and the assessments that they're doing, that there is a threat that they're aware of.
Yeah. And John Solomon reported immediately after Charlie Kirk's assassination. You've got to remember, John Solomon is directly connected to the White House. He's getting firsthand information on a lot of the D-class that's coming directly out of the DOJ. And that he said that within the sources that he's hearing, there's multiple different angles that they were looking at for the shooter, including foreign intelligence. Now, I think that that's really key because it was either foreign intelligence tipped the United States off that something was going to happen, or they suspect foreign intelligence involvement in what happened. We never really got clarification on that. It kind of got buried about a week after. My suspicions are this, is that a foreign intelligence agency tipped off the White House. Do you want to know who I think that foreign intelligence agency was?
Does the country start with the letter R? Huh. I'm very curious then.
I would say that that country was most likely Israel. And the reason I say that is because of Israel's reaction in the aftermath of events. The Jerusalem Post was the first mainstream media periodical to actually publish anything about Charlie Kirk. Netanyahu came out seconds after Donald Trump in the proclamation, which means that they were in direct communication, that they knew something was going to happen. And once it happened, they were on point. They weren't reacting from a position of, oh my God, we got to get people going here. Something's going to happen, or something happened. We have to get stories out. They were already ready for it. And so I think that potentially that was that. Now, does that implicate them or not implicate them? I think that what we have in Israel is a very precarious situation with Netanyahu's regime. There's a lot of good people in Israel. There's a lot of good people in the IDF. There's a lot of good people in the Shin Bet and the Mossad people. Like, I know people are like, whoa, dude, did you really just say that? Yeah. Just like there's good people in the Central Intelligence Agency. That what we see on the surface level is not the corruption, is not the evil. This is an actual organization of patriots in the CIA who probably love our country. But there's a few infiltrators within there that utilize their positions of power and their authority to subvert the American people, the Constitution, to funnel money or arms or intelligence in different ways to basically produce the deep state intelligence apparatus, working with various NGOs, NPOs, other organizations, foreign intelligence agencies. Then they can begin their subversion techniques. So when I say that, just understand that there's good people in the world. And as Q says, there's more good people in the world than not.
Yeah, and just to add a little more to that too. You touched on it, and I want to make sure people heard it. It's the ones that are in the positions of power that happen to usually be the ones that are corrupt. And because the way these structures are designed, they're compartmentalized. You can have good people pulling off operations that they may not know that it was a bad operation to a very long time later when they look back and they're like, hey, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
But because of the way these things are structured, that's the way you're able to facilitate these operations without good people knowing. And you see this all the way to local law enforcement with sheriffs and municipalities. It's the same issue. You can have great rank and file people, but if you have an administration that is beholden to the council or beholden to liberals or a narrative, it makes the entire agency look bad. I want to get through 3 more posts to kind of bring us up to here that all come off of that September 10th one. So let me bring up this next one. And this one again, 2138 September 10th. It says, WRWI, I believe we are with you. And it says, and where we go one, we go all. But the one in the middle is what really gets my attention here. Battle stations ready. Again, September 10th. This is the day of the assassination. And then let me get through 2 more, and then I'll give it back to you for your comments. This is 4648 for those that want to look it up, September 10th again. Q, you always seem to post exactly when I'm most down. Hive mind. Thank you and God bless. Find peace, solace through prayer. There are good people standing behind you. Have faith in humanity. Have faith in yourself. Nothing can stop what is coming. Nothing. God bless. And then the last one from September 10th. Actually, I'll save that one because that one's going to require a little different conversation. But these 2 last ones almost seems like it was anticipation that the 10th would be a very heavy day for people. Mm-hmm. That whatever event was going to unfold was going to be one that was going to require them saying, hey, you always seemed to know when to post. And kind of what I was sharing on my show last night, the Just Alpha conversation. And I want to get your perspective on this. And I think it'll set us up for where we want to go tonight. If there was any indicators that the boards were about to be turned back on, I think we are seeing a heavy push of that right now, especially within the comms that have happened in the last 13 days now. Your thoughts?
Well, I can go through one of those comms that I think are a clear indication that it's actually going to happen. You know, this is where things get interesting. This is one of my current Substacks. There's a premium video that go along with this, but this is the Substack article, redpillproject.substack.com, the return of General Michael Flynn from discreet advisor to the National Security Advisor. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we've covered this before. General Michael Flynn talking about how he's advising DNI Tulsi Gabbard, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. One morning he had a meeting with Pete Hegseth. 2 hours later, Pete Hegseth fires the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency. Okay? This is the power that Michael Flynn is swinging in Washington, D.C. right now. He maintains an office in Washington, D.C., consulting senators and congressmen, engaging directly with foreign leaders and ambassadors. We have all the proof right there in the videos in his own words and Matt Gaetz's words. But this is what I wanted to play for everybody. This is just a day ago of what Donald Trump was asked. Now, I want you to listen to what is said here.
President, thank you. Liam Comsgrove with Zero Hedge. People are still anticipating who your pick for National Security Advisor will be. They're worried Marco Rubio is a little overworked, and one of the reported front runners is Michael Anton from the State Department. He's just authored the National Security Strategy. Also in the mix is Mike Flynn and Steve Witkoff. Can you give us an indication of who?
Well, they're all good. No, we'll make a decision soon,
Okay.
but we're doing very well.
So right there, Donald Trump has asked the question, and the Zero Hedge reporter comes out and says, Mike Flynn. Guys, that's not a coincidence in any way, shape, or form that Mike Flynn is in the running, one of 3 people for the National Security Advisor to the president. Now, that's kind of interesting because when we break this down a little bit more, the day that this happened, that Trump was asked this question, there was a certain delta on the boards. The delta, and I'll bring this up for you guys. I got to go to another screen. Was this guy. And the day that Trump was asked that question, this was the delta. Now, interesting enough, is there's another delta that happens tomorrow. I don't find this to be a coincidence at all. And here's the thing.
Just to make sure people are, I want to make sure people are catching what you're putting out there. That post, can you bring it up one more time?
Oh, yeah. 1 second. It just crashed on me, but.
So, well, I'll just, so people can understand, there was 3 asterisks or 3 stars.
Correct.
And for those that, are unaware, if you didn't know, General Flynn is a 3-star general.
Was.
And was a lot of classified stuff. But he was, or at least is on paper, people that go and research him will be like, oh, he's a 3-star general. Me and Josh have a perspective on that, but that's what that post was referencing for those that are new. And just so you know, Josh, I talked about this last night. I've gone a lot of people that are like, hey man, I'm new to this Q stuff. I've heard of, the Q-tards and all this other stuff, but there's some stuff that sounds really interesting to me. I want to look into it myself, but I don't even know how to go about it or how to start. So I told him I would hit you up. So I'll put you on the spot. And I said, hey, I'll get with Josh and maybe we can do something on a different day where we could kind of show people how to use the boards, what certain things, mean, kind of like a basic course.
Actually, I think it segues really nice into our next part, because we're going to talk about military is the only way. And we're going to talk about a lot of the historical context we talked about in part 1. But I can give a brief synopsis for anybody out there. Number one thing is you have to understand what the Q boards are, right? So you have to go through the history. You go back to 4chan. There was hundreds, if not thousands of people pretending to be insiders in Washington, D.C. in the first Trump administration, whether it was a White House insider, FBI insider, or FBI agent, whoever it might have been. There was tons of people pretending. But this one is the one that got the attention. We're not going to go into reasons why this one got the attention and rose up. I'm telling you, it has to do with movement warfare. But when we start to look at what it was in hindsight, and you have to look in hindsight at what it is. You couldn't tell directly at that point in time. But I want people to imagine this for a second. Q comes about October 28, 2017. This is after General Michael Flynn, the national security advisor to President Trump, is basically set up, and they couped him. You got to also remember the context that Trump won the Republican primary. But what you had is you had people in the Republican Party that wanted to undermine Trump with Article 9 of the RNC and remove Donald Trump. Paul Ryan, Mike Pence. So Trump had to make deals in order to get into office. And the deals were basically acquiesce to some of the neocons and bring them in. This is why you had Pompeo. This is why you had Mike Pence as his handler from the RNC, from the conservatives. And this came about strictly from Sheldon Adelson and other big philanthropist donors to Trump and the Republican Party. Okay, so you got to kind of see this bigger picture that Trump comes in a very compromised situation. You remember Mattis got removed, McMaster got removed. All these people get fired. Why? Because of what they were doing in the backdrop. They were assets of the deep state, or they were assets of the neocons. In other words, nothing could be trusted on the internal communications of President Trump in the White House. And if you understand that, and they got rid of Mike Flynn, then you have to have a way to communicate with your team. There's got to be a way that we can still communicate that is an ancillary method of communication that is not going to be immediately known what our actions are or what our countermeasures are. And this is where the Q boards come in, because the Q boards actually set up the amazing ability for proxy board communication. And what do I mean by that? In World War II, you would have a spy in theater in Germany, acting as a German soldier or a German citizen, but he's actually working for the Americans. And what he would do is he's given pre-information. The pre-information is there's a coffee shop with blue shutters. When the open sign is turned, when the open sign is at a slant, a 45-degree slant, that means to go to the library. And at the library, you're going to go to the 8th bookshelf on the right. You're going to pick up the 144th book in the middle row. And you're going to open that book to page 187. And in 187, there will be a note for you. That's how proxy boards of communication work. And that's how the Q boards work. What we were picking up on, and they utilize this primarily talking to us, was they set out a whole series of information that they could reference that means something to them directly in the context of their mission or what they were doing. And they utilize timestamps, time deltas, and they utilize various different numbering structures through social media to reference this. But the one important thing to understand about this, because you do have Q-tards out there, and Q-tards, if you go scroll through social media and you see the Q-tards like highlighting single capital letters in Trump's posts and saying, Donald Trump saying everything's going to be okay. These guys have no clue what the hell they're talking about. What we're talking about here is contextual post. When Donald Trump posts something that has context, and then you have a timestamp that matches that context, that is bringing attention to something very specific. I will give you a primary example of this. Now, the rumors this last weekend going into the Charlie Kirk memorial was that there was potentially going to be assassination attempts, or there was going to be a terrorist event or something of that nature, right? Dan Scavino posted 2 videos back to back on his X profile. Okay. Now, bring these up here. He posts these 2 videos on his X profile back to back. One is 34 seconds long, one's 35 seconds long. Now, it's on Air Force One. Okay. Now
35
you go
specifically, just so people
you go to post 35. POTUS will be well insulated and protected on Air Force One and abroad. Now, do you think that that is a coincidence? That's contextual information that leads directly to a timestamp, giving you a message. Hey, Don't worry, guys. Everything's okay. Trump's well insulated. We're not worried about terrorist attacks. But then 34. Over the course of the next several days, you are undoubtedly going to realize that we are taking back our country, the land of the free, from the evil tyrants that wish to do us harm and destroy the last reigning refuge of shining light. Okay?
Before you take that down,
Yeah.
35, which is the one on the right, folks, when they sign off on this one, they sign off with the numbers 4, 10, 20. And
DJT.
again, why? Absolutely, because when you look at the alpha numeric sequence to these, 4 is the D, 10 is the J, 20 is the T. So again, this is giving confirmation to, yes, we are using numbers. We're using these these numbers that correlate with letters. We're using timestamps that correlate with posts. That's what it's showing. Just again to add more sauce to it.
Yeah, but so in the context of everybody out there, so that right there would be a contextual reference to a Q board post, right? But let's say that you have the good guys that are operating clandestinely. They're going to their Rolodex and they're opening up post 35, and it's not the same post 35 that you have. Instead, it's a mission board. Instead, it's a set of instructions. Instead of, hey, this is our next plan. This is the operation that's going away. Operation, snowfall or whatever it might be. That would be their reference. So they have a different board that they utilize to decipher. But in order to decipher the boards, you have to have the contextual reference of that, which means that every time that Donald Trump posts or Dan Scavino posts is not a timestamp. Okay, there has to be context directly to what's happening right then in the world at that moment, to the post that's being referenced and the board post.
And just
that is their indicator.
And just so people would understand how sophisticated this thing would be, this goes down to the nuance of, was it Scavino that posted at 2:10 or was it Trump that posted on 2:10? When they did, let's just say it's a Scavino one. Scavino posted on this at 1400 hours. Okay. Did he start it off with lowercase? Is there capitals? There's a whole matrix of things that allows them even to know which board that they're going to go to. Think of it like in the movie The Hunt for Red October, with the submarines.
Mm-hmm.
And they got to break, they break the launch code or whatever the operation sequence is. And they got to confirm the codes, and then those codes will confirm whether this order that came in or the transmission is authentic or not. And they say, yes, it's authenticated. This is like the reverse order of that.
Now, I'm going to give you an example of something here. Number one thing is there is a post that came out from President Trump today, and I am almost 100% certain he did not write it. Okay? And it's the post about Russia. And I think that this has been a theme. There's certain posts that are just not within the semantic writing of Donald Trump, the linguistical language of Donald Trump. They're just too thorough. They're too detailed. Now, this is something very, very interesting. Donald Trump put this out on 9/20/2025 at 6:31 p.m. This looks more like a text message to Pam Bondi, right? He is calling Pam Bondi out on social media. The only problem is, a little while later, Pam Bondi's doing a great job as Attorney General of the United States. She is very careful, very smart, loves our country. This isn't Trump writing this, people. But why is it contradictory? Because on one side, you're getting Donald Trump's post. On the other side, you're getting somebody else's post. But I do believe that the post was scheduled through Trump's team, Scavino. And what they did is they threw a little hint in there. This post was at 6:31 p.m. or 5:31 Central Time. This post was at 6:51. The difference, an hour and... Hold on. My screen just went dead. Of course it did. And I got that wrong. But there's an hour and 7 minutes between the posts. And so the timestamps were wrong on there. But the difference between the two posts was 1 hour and 7 minutes.
Drop the
1
zero.
hour and 7 minutes. 107. That's a 17. And so we get an indication of that. Now, why do I say that someone else is posting for Donald Trump? If you read this post today, right here, you'll begin to understand what I said is that the Trump administration is showing you something. This was not Donald Trump speaking here. This is more Sebastian Gorka, okay? Absolutely not Donald Trump writing this. It just doesn't make any sense. And you can throw this through any AI you want to and analyze that per everything you know about Donald Trump's writing, and AI will tell you there's a 100% chance that that is not Donald Trump. Now, why does this spark our interest? Number one is basically Russia's bad, Europe needs to act. That's not Donald Trump. But number two is it's showing something that I've been laying out since kind of the Charlie Kirk assassination and maybe even before, is that Trump is appearing perceptual optics to be compromised, to be that they're under duress, that they're working under duress, that there's people inside the White House that are working against them and what they're doing, and they are not able to defend against it. Now, the question comes is, why would you not be able to defend against it? Well, I want you to imagine for a second that whomever this is that is controlling the White House right now, they also control Senate and Congress to a very high level and degree with leverage. And that if Trump by any chance stepped out of line, all they have to do is start formal impeachment processes. All they have to do is take one of their sleeper agents and open up the 25th Amendment to remove him. Once you understand that, you begin to see why everything is being done in the shadows through Proxy. And I'm going to get into that here in a second. Now, I want to just play a short little meme video that was posted earlier this week. And Alpha, I know you've seen this video. I'm hoping I can find it here very soon.
Break glass.
Yes, break glass. You got it right there?
Here, let me. I can load it for you real quick. If here, see if it happens faster than.
But do you know who originally published that?
Patrick Byrne.
Patrick Byrne. Now, why is that important? Because one thing that Alpha and I know is that Patrick Byrne is very, very close to General Michael Flynn, and that Patrick Byrne is. People will understand that Patrick Byrne had a lot to do with why we won this last election and how we figured out the 2020 election was stolen. But this was posted by Patrick Byrne the same day that Trump said his DNI positions, or not his DNI, his national security advisor position. Now, I find this interesting because Patrick's a good dude. Patrick knows a few things, but it's also Flynn in uniform. And I think that's a good part of segue. The military is really the only way, people.
Well, on the full video, the full video is 21 seconds. You want me to pull it up? I could play it real quick. I have it.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Here because it has a verse that plays into this conversation as well. So here you go, folks. I mean,
can you hear my audio? Am I cut off?
I can hear you now.
Okay. So, and there we go. The recurring theme that we just talked about. And I think that there is show of compromise inside the White House. Donald Trump said this last weekend that Susie Wiles is the most powerful woman in the world. She makes problems go away. Before that, you had Tucker Carlson take the stage and throw a punch at Susie Wiles. He said before, Susie Wiles went in the early 2000s and worked Netanyahu's, or 2012, worked Netanyahu's re-election campaign, indicating that Susie Wiles is controlled by somebody that's not us. And there's many within the White House that are like this. So what does that mean? It means that some foreign intelligence agency in some country has influence, massive influence over the United States government, even the president of the United States. Now, if there is one man you were going to send in to absolutely eradicate that influence, who would it be?
General Michael Flynn.
General Michael Flynn.
Hands down. There's no argument there. As a matter of fact, I have a post and a clip that I want to play with that General Flynn posted. He quote posted somebody that posted a video out there. And it encompasses Venezuela. So once you're ready to get into that conversation, we can definitely go there with that one.
Yeah, well, I wanted to play. I want to find this one clip of something that was said this last week. I got to go to my profile and get it, but it has context with what we were talking about last week. And one thing that we need to understand is that what happened on September 7th, 8th, and 9th and 10th was so critically important to what's happening right now. Nobody was even paying attention to the other stuff. And it was key to be paying attention to the other stuff, because once you understood it, then you could see where this is actually heading and what was actually going on. So let me lay it out for you. Donald Trump on the night of the 7th put out a Truth Social post that said, Hamas, this is your final warning. The last time I'm going to warn you, if you do not release all the hostages, there is going to be hell to pay. Immediately after, an hour and a half after Trump posted this, Hamas leadership comes out through social media and official channels and says, we're ready to negotiate. We're in. Let's do it. The Trump team immediately began setting up between Israel, the United States, and Hamas leadership in Doha, Qatar. They sent their delegation out there. Hamas sent their delegation out there. Now, on September 8th, this is where it got interesting. 6 Palestinian terrorists rushed in Jerusalem and killed a whole bunch of Israelis. Now, this is kind of interesting. This is a day after Hamas basically waves the white flag and says, hey, we're done. We don't want to fight anymore. We're ready to negotiate. Let's do this. And then the next day, there's a terrorist attack directly inside Israel. That doesn't make any sense. There hadn't been a terrorist attack in Israel since October 24th, 2024. And the timing, it didn't benefit Hamas at all. So it's kind of suspect. Well, the next day is where it got even more interesting. The next day. The next day, Israel's delegation arrived, by the way. So the U.S. delegation was there. Israel's delegation was there. Hamas leadership arrived before them. And Israel sent a missile into Qatar, into the building to kill Hamas leadership. Okay? Now, why is this kind of interesting? Because number one, Qatar is an ally to the United States of America. Not only are they an ally to the United States of America, is that Hamas leadership was brought there under the trust and loyalty of Donald Trump. Therefore, when you see Israel basically telling Donald Trump, fuck you, we're going to take out Hamas leadership, we finally got the opportunity to, that is a slap in the face to any U.S. alliance, to any level of, sorry, I was looking for the video. Any level of trust and loyalty between Donald Trump and Netanyahu was lost that day. Okay? Now, I'm going to pull up. This is a video of Ambassador Michel Hamad Al-Thani. He is the Qatarian ambassador to the United States of America. I want you to listen to what he says right here about this exact event, because it reiterates my exact words of what I said happened that day.
You have Patriot air defense systems. They're American systems. You have them because you're an ally of the United States. Did you think about engaging those Patriot systems to knock these bombs out of the sky?
Well, you know, the Israelis have some kind of an edge to the technology. So most of our Patriots were positioned in another direction. Unfortunately, since you are an ally and you're working with the United States, and we had assurances from the Israelis that they will not do such thing, we were really caught out surprise of this act.
Do you feel like you were lied to?
We've been betrayed, to be honest.
I want people to truly understand it, because last week I posted how Israel's Netanyahu betrayed Trump's trust and loyalty. And so we go through this whole construct, right? So that was September 9th. What happens the next day? Donald Trump brings Barron Trump out of NYU directly back to the White House, and then Charlie Kirk is assassinated.
Yep.
And then what starts coming out immediately after that? Israel did it. I'm not saying Israel did it. I'm saying that's what was trending on social media is Israel did it.
Still is.
Netanyahu, yeah, still is. Netanyahu comes out to defend his image. I just want to say that Israel had no part in whatsoever of Charlie Kirk's death. But then when we start to look at motive, intent, and opportunity, it starts piling up that they potentially did. And I'm not saying that they did or didn't. I don't know. I'm going to leave that to the experts. I just follow the information. I follow the intelligence, the OSINT of where it leads. But coming off of those events where they just betrayed Donald Trump, the next day he's in fear for his son's life. From who? Not Maduro in Venezuela. We got them cornered, not China. No nation state like China or Russia would do that. That's an act of war. There's only one nation in the world, if it was a foreign nation that did it, that would and could get away with it. And I think we're seeing an active cover-up based upon that.
Well, definitely one of the things that we saw, and a lot of people didn't really pick up on this in the beginning, but things that kind of lend credence toward this being a foreign actor was Con Inc. didn't know what to say in the first 6 to 10 hours.
Yep.
If you go through the people you suspect that are part of Con Inc. and look at their social media feed, it's crickets or things as simple as, prayers for Charlie. There was nobody immediately with directions on where to steer the narrative or the agenda.
Well, actually, the original narrative that came out from APAC Inc., APAC funded social influencers, was that they were going to rise up and take the microphone and that they were going to lead TP USA, that they were going to do the stadium tours. Okay. Now I found that really interesting, but
that was later in the day though. That
it was.
It
like 6 p.m.
It didn't. But you had a period of about 6 hours, 6 to 7, 8 hours there, where because I'm going through because that's what I do. I look for the patterns. I want to see who's pushing the same agenda, so I know which people are operating in one circle, so I can start documenting it, put it in my folders. And I'm going there, and I'm just like, they don't know what to say.
Yep.
And so what that means is there was last minute orchestration involved with this move. Because if you look at things like Butler, certain media that was there for the first time,
20,000 frame rate camera, the New York Times right there front and center. It was New York Times. First time they've ever been to a Trump rally. Last time they've ever been into a Trump rally with the exact camera utilized in wartime footage to capture
a bullet.
And
then right away you saw there was narratives being pushed towards, and there was even narratives leading up hinting towards Iran wanting to have some beef with President Trump.
Yep.
And some of that stuff here was absent. And why do I bring that up? You can coordinate something into an operation plan. Me and Josh and anybody that's a vet in the audience knows this. You have things that you have days and weeks to plan for. And you have other things where you have 72 hours. This needs to happen, make it happen. And it's not going to be as clean. And I definitely see the hallmarks of something that is a last minute operation surrounding this incident with Charlie Kirk. This is something that was probably developed within a few days. And I think part of that is because when they saw Trump making certain moves, including the finale with Barron,
warning shot across the bow.
They fired a warning shot. A warning shot for Trump that took the life of Charlie.
Yep. When I look at it from that perspective, it makes complete and total sense. But here's the thing: is you can't come out and say that. You can't come out and start pointing the finger or doing that, but you can have your proxies do it, because this is where it gets so interesting. I've talked about this before multiple times, Alpha, how Donald Trump utilizes the good people around him, right?
Let me interrupt you real quick.
Yeah.
Somebody asked the question, Kimba Zimba, why would Shy Susie even speak at Charlie's service? I'm going to hit Josh with something. He doesn't even know it's coming yet, because I have a theory, Josh, that I came up with last night. So in this show, I have it in my notes here. I will bring this up for you. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but I want people to know. Going to have a very interesting conversation with Josh later on tonight.
All right. So I got to bring back the contextual framework now. Okay, it was right there. So you totally lost my train of thought. Okay, let me go back in here. We were talking about that and that. Okay, so
I was talking about how it was a warning shot towards Trump that resulted in the actual loss of the life of Charlie Kirk. Not a whole lot of time preparation, and then moving Barron Trump in the morning, which shows the intelligence to suggest all these things were going to unfold.
Right. So when we start to look at the whole apparatus which we're dealing with, guys, it's a multifaceted apparatus. The globalists and the deep state isn't one foreign nation or foreign intelligence apparatus. It's infiltration in all governments around the world and all intelligence operations around the world. It's what I call the multi-headed hydra. Each neck has a head. Each head is a different ideology and a different agenda. And they sometimes work together and they sometimes work against each other. What Donald Trump has systematically done since he came into office this last term is he's used economic and even kinetic warfare to isolate all of these threat actors. And I'm going to get into the threat actor scenario here in a second, but I have to lay a little groundwork because I want you to see what I believe is happening behind the scenes, what Alpha was just hitting at. When they saw that Donald Trump potentially was ready to make a move because Netanyahu literally just betrayed Donald Trump's trust and loyalty. I mean, Qatar is a military ally to the United States of America. They're investing over $10 trillion into the United States over a course of 10 years. Like, this is not something that you do to the most powerful military and country in the world, unless you have full control and power over them. But once you do that, you know that they're going to strike back. So what they did is they struck first, shot across the bow, saying, don't screw with us. We can get anybody at any point in time. Now, so how does Donald Trump and the good people of the military, or the white hats as we'll call them, how do they operate in this wartime scenario? Well, that's where it gets really, really interesting, because they've been operating in this wartime scenario for a very, very long time. Now, I brought up the idea that there was something fishy about DNI Tulsi Gabbard, right? And I want people to understand this. When you come into a cabinet position, if you are an active duty military officer or a reserve officer, you have to either resign your commission or you have to get a congressional waiver. Okay? There is no, it's law that has to happen. The problem is that the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, is still a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army Reserve. She has not resigned her commission, and she has no active waiver on file publicly from Congress. What that tells you is that there is an active military officer heading out ODNI. Now, how is that possible? And trust me, I've been wrapping my brain around this constitutionally, legally, for a little while now. How is this possible? Because everything has to be constitutional, right? Donald Trump, I'm a wartime president. Mike Johnson, I'm a wartime speaker. Well, what do they mean? Well, I heard something today and it led me to the idea that, wait a minute here. Alpha, when was the last time the United States of America declared war?
That'd be what? Pearl Harbor, World War II?
Pearl Harbor. Yeah, Pearl Harbor, World War II. But haven't we had the Vietnam War, the Korean War? Haven't we had the War on Terror? We've had a lot of wars, a lot of armed conflicts around the world. Well, what authorized those?
That is the test damn question. It's the authorization, the military.
The 2001 authorization use of military force that came about after 2001, from September 2001. And basically, the idea of the AUMF that was passed in 2001 is that the president of the United States can direct military action at any of the actors associated with the hijackers of 9/11. So we're talking about Al-Qaeda, Taliban. Well, something interesting happened in 2017 when Trump came in. He redefined a part of that act that says other associates. Because at the time of 2001, ISIS-K was not in existence, but in 2017 they were. So Donald Trump used the AUMF, the 2001 AUMF, signed into power by George Bush, as the legal precedence to bomb the shit out of ISIS over a period of 6 months and absolutely annihilate the ISIS caliphate. Now, I started looking at this and I said, well, this is pretty interesting. So I'm a person that likes to read. I like to kind of go into a theoretical analysis real quick because I've laid this out before. You have a really important man in Donald Trump's administration right now. And when you start to look at this guy's history, you start seeing connections up and down. And nobody in the conservative community or even the Q community had talked about this guy until me. Because I kept on hearing his name at the rallies. Raising Dan Kane. And Trump kept on talking about it. And nobody decided to look him up. I looked this guy up. Sure enough, he was involved in September 11th, a pilot. He was the air commander. He served under Major General Worley. And by the way, I knew Major General Worley, talked to Major General Worley, but about a week and a half before he was killed. That was when I worked in Washington, D.C. Okay, so Dan Kane, 9/11 testimony from the 9/11 Commission report, still classified to this day. In other words, Dan Kane knows what the hell flew into the Pentagon. He knew what was flying in Shanksville, and he knows what was flying in September 11th. He's a pilot. He's not stupid. These were his men. Now extrapolate that. Donald Trump brings him in 2017, hires him to go out there and eliminate the ISIS caliphate. He leads Joint Special Operations Command in Syria and Afghanistan. Within 6 months, completes a mission that other generals said would take years to accomplish. Trump then says, hey, Dan, listen, you did a great job. What I want you to do, Dan Kane, is I want you to go to the Pentagon and have a sweet office job. So he sends Dan Kane over to the Pentagon in 2018 to run the Office of Special Access Programs, SAP, CAP, USAP programs. In other words, Dan Kane becomes the head guy in the military that funds, organizes, and is reviewed every single SAP program. He's also the main person for SAP origination. As if the military, their DOD, wanted to originate a SAP program, they'd have to go through Dan Kane. Now, could the president initiate a special access program? Well, he absolutely could. How many people need to be involved? 2, him and Dan Kane. Now, what does a SAP program do? Well, it allocates money from the congressional budget to the DOD and basically takes it off the radar so it has no congressional oversight. In a nutshell, that's what a SAP program does. So it's my suspicion that in 2018, they set up an intelligence gathering mission, as well as special operatives. And they used Joint Special Operations Command to do this. And more specifically in 2020, that's when that came into play. And the special intelligence operation was meant to be an intelligence gathering campaign, but also to preserve, this is the key, to preserve the intelligence that we already had. Why? Because if you know that the deep state is infiltrated deep within your intelligence apparatus at DNI levels and all the way down, then that means that documents that are going to come out through, let's say, the classified annex of the Durham report are going to get thrown in burn bags and destroyed. Well, how do you preserve them? Well, you have a special access program that goes out there and ensures that the moment those things hit the server, they're downloaded immediately and preserved in their original form. And that way, when Trump leaves, boom, it all looks like it's deleted. But the moment Trump comes back in, they all show back up. That's A. In 2020, after Donald Trump fired Mark Esper as the Secretary of Defense, he brought in Chris Miller. Now, Chris Miller, by the way, is former special operator. He's a U.S. Army Ranger. And I know Chris Miller has been very critical of Donald Trump at points in times, but I think that is on purpose. Because going back to what I forgot I was talking about before, is Donald Trump uses people very, very close to him, and they know they're being used for the good of humanity. Ron DeSantis, for instance. Remember Ron DeSanctimonious? You remember after the Republican primaries, it was Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, hand over hand. He even considered him for a cabinet position. Tucker Carlson. Remember when Trump called out Tucker Carlson? And Tucker Carlson has been utilized as a vehicle, a mechanism to help bring optics into a certain arena. What is Tucker doing a documentary on right now? Oh, 9/11.
Yep.
Episode 1 was really, really interesting. We'll get into that here in a few minutes because it has a lot of context to what I'm about to say. So in 2020, Chris Miller comes in, and Chris Miller immediately removes Joint Special Operation Command authority from the Central Intelligence Agency and moves the office back to the Pentagon. Now, why is that important? This means that the Central Intelligence Agency can no longer operate covert ops with Special Operations Command without Pentagon oversight. Now, there had to be a reason that they did that. But also it means that the Pentagon can run covert military operations without the CIA ever knowing. And that's where it gets really important. Because I want you to imagine for a minute. Imagine taking members of Delta or DevGru or elite special forces groups, or just finding the best of the best and saying, hey, do you really want to serve your country? That you're going to go undercover. And they allow them to go infiltrate various different organizations, terrorist organizations, or maybe the left or Antifa, who knows? But for the last, let's say for the last 5 or 6 years, they've been running counterintelligence operations and they've been undercover. Alpha knows all about this. And let's just say that it's coming to an end. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Over the course of the last year, Donald Trump has initiated certain executive orders that declared various organizations as terrorist organizations. Well, I noticed something. When you start to look at Tren de Aragua and all the other gangs and cartels that Donald Trump proclaimed to be a terrorist organization, the legality and the constitutionality is there. He utilizes economic sanctions, but he also uses the 2001 AUMF, the use of military force. But when he did it for Antifa, there was no legal precedent whatsoever, which means that his executive order about Antifa actually holds no legal weight. It's more of a directive, a policy coming down from President Trump directed at the ATF, the FBI, and so forth to basically move resources to investigate these matters. Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting.
Let me interject there before you go too far
Sure.
from one of these thoughts. It just for those that are wondering, what do you guys, you mean these guys would really go undercover like that? I want to bring up a post. This is a CIA post on Twitter, now X, from 2018. Let me bring it up on the screen so everybody can see it. CIA says, CIA officers work as scientists, support staff, engineers, economists, linguists, mathematicians, secretaries, accountants, inventors, cartographers, architects, psychologists, police officers, editors, graphic designers, auto mechanics, historians, museum curators, and more. August 29th, 2018. Now, why is that important? Well, we know, with the CIA is not something we're fans of right now. It's not. But if they're making that type of infiltration into these everyday systems, there's only one way to answer that, and it's to counter that, which
Right.
is going exactly into what you were talking about right now.
Correct. And there's also parts of Title 10 that are done through Presidential Emergency Active Directives, PEDs. And I believe that on January 21st, 2025, Donald Trump initiated some of these. And I think what we saw was actually something very similar to an insurrection act through, Title 10 and Title 50 actions. But that's just all hypothecating here. But this is what I want people to see. In order to utilize the 2001 AUMF against infiltration inside the United States of America, like Antifa is inside the United States of America. And let's recap. Right? So Donald Trump has basically cornered Iran. He's cornered Venezuela, which means that if their sleeper cells go active, their shit's going to hit the proverbial fan, right? For those countries. So what happened today? And I got to get back to the Israel thing too, because we didn't finish on that, but I want to bring this out there of what happened specifically today. There was, where is it? Darn it all. I haven't said that in so long. There it is. Okay. This is all going to make sense, guys. I always come full circle. It's all going to make a lot of sense here in a minute. Okay. This was being reported today. I said Hezbollah sleeper cells activated. Laura Logan reports that this is being taken serious by U.S. intel circles. Laura Logan has very, very good information, let me assure you. This is the same context of the firestorm that I've discussed for years. Social cultural destabilization, activation of sleeper cells, and taking over our cities. The message on official Quids channels, which is followed by over 500,000 people publicly. A direct attack signal was posted in Farsi. This order is significant because it did not come from the supreme leader, but instead was a quote in a video format of the IRGC Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. Everything comes from God's revolution. For God, begin the revolt. This signifies that the order for revolt is coming from God and directed by the bloodlines of the prophet, Khomeini. This is a call for the global attacks of sleeper cell elements and deployment of assets worldwide. Anything from small to large attacks are possible. The author says this is nothing like Al-Qaeda or ISIS-style attacks. This is more centered on leftists being triggered, Antifa attacking cops, more targeting of media influencers, and even coordinated detonations toward government and law enforcement. Interesting timing with all things considering. And this isn't me saying this. This is the author posting the exact post on the channel. Okay? Now, why is this important? Because what you saw right there was a direct correlation between radicalized Islamic terrorism and the left and Antifa. And this is going to make more sense here in a minute. Now, we've had an invasion of our country. Now, I've laid this out on the show multiple different times. Chinese military-age males, I believe they're the cleanup crew. They're the blue helmets. They're going to bring peace and order to the states after they'd already been taken over. But what you have primarily northern African militant groups, you had Hezbollah, Houthis, Hamas, you had Al-Qaeda, you have Taliban, you have ISIS, all came over our southern border, probably hundreds of thousands, if not more, distributed throughout our country in the sanctuary cities by the Biden administration. Okay? We know they're here. We can't act with military because the moment that we initiate the military to act upon them, they go active. They go active, they take over cities, but we have precautions in place. We have 20,000 troops on the southern border. We have National Guard ready deployed. We have thousands of National Guard troops already in Washington, D.C. They're deploying to Memphis. We got them in California. Trust me, we're very, very ready for what happens next. With this activation call, this signifies something bigger, is much bigger, is about to happen. Now, enter in Israel. When I've talked to you guys all before, when we talk about the multi-headed Hydra and all the factions, China has been economically basically sanctioned through tariffs. Donald Trump has China on their knees. Venezuela, they have a naval flotilla sitting right outside their border to where if they make one freaking move, they're going to get absolutely bombarded with missiles. Iran came out today and said that we've reached a new heightened state of uranium enrichment, but it's only 60%, and we're never going to go past that because we don't want nuclear weapons, which was pretty damn amazing. And that came about because of what Donald Trump did, taking 2 bombs and dropping them into freaking exhaust vents of underground military bases and blowing them to shit. And Iran going, we can't win this war, and basically saying, we give up. Okay?
The plot to Top Gun 2 Maverick.
That's right. The plot to Top Gun 2. So the question is how does Donald Trump counter the last remaining faction of the globalist regiment that can seize power that already has him under duress and seizing power in the White House, Washington, D.C.? How does he do it? Well, you utilize Proxy. So President Trump is planning to meet a select group of Arab and Muslim leaders on Tuesday. That was today. On the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, that meeting was today. Donald Trump, he went and met with Turkey's President Erdogan tomorrow. Sorry, these are tomorrow. Arab leaders are tomorrow. Erdogan is tomorrow, Turkey's leader. Now, this is interesting because on the way to the United States, foreign ministers of Pakistan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Indonesia, Jordan, Turkey, and the UAE who held consultations in New York ahead of President Trump's summit meeting with select leaders from the Islamic countries that are scheduled to be held on September 23rd. Now, Alpha, do you remember the post that we posted last week, basically Qatar reserving the right to defend themselves against Israel? Do you remember when MBR came out from Saudi Arabia? What did he say to Israel? He threatened them. He warned them, don't screw up again or it's over, right? Did you know that the largest defense contract the United States has ever done with a foreign entity happened in March of 2025, $643 billion to Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia, 643. On Friday, September 11th, after Charlie Kirk's assassination, after Israel sent a missile into Qatar, Donald Trump puts out a notification to Pete Hegseth to finalize a defense cooperation agreement with Qatar. What? That's interesting. Now, we have Saudi Arabia that just produced a defense pact with Pakistan, a nuclear nation. Pakistan's the same country, if you go back to the Iran conflict, that said that if Israel launches nukes on Iran, that Pakistan will blow Israel off the face of the earth. Now, who was the one that negotiated peace between India and Pakistan, by the way?
That was President Trump.
That was President Trump. Who was the person who came to or who tipped off Iran that the attack was going to come? Let them know, because they told us they were notified, right? You remember the guy that visited Donald Trump the day before we attacked Iran? It was the head of the Pakistani military.
Oh, that's right. Yes, yes.
So now Pakistan is aligning with Saudi Arabia, nuclear power in the region. In other words, if you go back to Turkey's words about a year and a half ago, Erdogan warned Israel. They said, if you continue your genocide in Palestine, we are going to have a League of Arab nations come together and we are going to take you out. And it was not a subtle threat. It was basically saying, we're going to fuck you up if you continue to do this. Just a few days ago, this was on September 20th, 2025, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has asked Donald Trump's administration to press Egypt to scale down a recent military buildup in the Sinai Peninsula. What's going on? It's almost like all of Israel's neighbors who are funded by Donald Trump are getting ready for war. With who? With Israel. Do you see how the proxy mechanism works?
100% understand the proxy here. And I think I had this conversation in private, I think with you or Ghost, or maybe both of you guys. The issue of why Trump's always had to operate through proxy is because we have an extraordinary large population of Christian Zionists that exist in America, who don't go down the rabbit holes, who don't understand, they don't see anything below the surface level of, well, my Bible tells me this when it comes to Israel. They don't understand. We're not talking about biblical Israel. That entire conversation for another show. But this is where Charlie Kirk backfires. This is where I think they overplayed their hand or misjudged. Imagine, you see what has been the conversation the last 12, 13 days. Revival in America, turning towards God. Christianity. You're even having the conversations of Catholicism come in there between, the rumors surrounding Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens and stuff saying, but you have all this. Nonetheless, you have a revival and this talk about Christianity. And Charlie Kirk has been, pretty much billboarded as America's golden boy, the Christian boy, the good guy. And he was a good guy. What if people saw through an investigation that Israel did have involvement? What impact would that have on the Christian
evangelicists? Yeah,
yes.
Evangelicists.
What kind of impact would that have on them? Be like, wait, hold on. It would create the door. You would open the door to, if something was going to happen, that's the window of opportunity that you're probably not going to have again to finish and sever that relationship off.
Now, how do you do that? Through proxy. If you're Kash Patel and you know this, and that you're being pressured by Susie Wiles to suppress the Epstein files, to suppress this, to cover up the Charlie Kirk assassination, would you leave hints and clues? Would you make it so damn obvious in your investigation that any Anon can see through it? Because that's exactly what has happened. That we're not buying this bullshit. And what did Kash put out this last week? We are looking at all angles. We are looking at the hand gestures between people in the audience. We're looking at the playing. Yeah, we're looking at all different things, guys. Don't worry. In other words, we hear you, we see you. And I think that's been the comms from the Trump administration over the last week, is that they're telling us Trust the plan. We hear you. We see you. Just wait. Now, Hezbollah and Hamas, going back to them, how did they make entry into the United States?
Biden's administration let them open the door for them.
They came through the Darien Gap. Most people here only know the Darien Gap. They don't know Margarita Island in Venezuela, to where Hamas and Hezbollah have been training since 2011 through congressional investigation. We actually know this, or congressional testimony. We actually know this. In other words, Venezuela is a hotbed for terrorists. All those terrorists came over into our country. Now, we know that the gangs and the cartels and the terrorist organizations are in cahoots with leftist organizations because that's who funded them.
Well, then this is a perfect time for me to put the General Flynn post for you and the Venezuela video that Flynn reposted. This will create a foundation for this, and I hope you've seen this. I mean, if you haven't seen it, you're gonna love it. So let me bring up the post first. This comes from General Flynn. So granted, this account that he reposted got deleted today because yesterday it was active, but I have the video still because
who was the account?
I have to go back to the screenshot that I have of it. So I will look for that. It wasn't a big account, but nonetheless, I grabbed the video. But I wanted to show here's the post. The date. September 21st, 2025, 4:23 a.m. Now, the account, when they posted this video on September 19th. Mm-hmm. Flynn chose yesterday to repost it. Not when the actual poster put the video
7:23, right?
Yeah, 7:23 a.m. East Coast time. So here's the post. Are you paying attention now? The establishment elite in America and globally don't want democracy in Venezuela. I do. Instead, they want access and power. The globalists can taste it. A positive springboard to a better and stronger America hemisphere is a democratically led Venezuela. As Americans, which do you choose? Democracy and life, or dictatorship and more death? I've been very upfront about which one I choose. America, how about you? Tags Donald Trump, tags Rubio, tags DNI Gabbard, tags Hegseth, Secretary of War, tags Maria Corina, and tags the VP. Now, let me play the video for you guys. It's from a TV show or a movie. It's 1 minute, 20 seconds. If you haven't seen this, Josh, you're going to love this, man.
What would you assume is the most major threat on the world stage?
Definitely Russia.
Definitely Russia. Who else?
China.
Stop yelling at me, but China is a good answer. Venezuela? Anybody? Everybody's cool with Venezuela? No threat? Okay. Which one of these places can claim to have the largest oil deposit on the planet? More than Saudi? More than Iran? Wow. Okay, what about things like gold? More than all the mines in Africa combined? Venezuela is arguably the single greatest resource of oil and minerals on the planet. So, why is this country in the midst of one of the greatest humanitarian crises in modern history? On the news, they'll call it a crisis. But on the world stage, they'll call it a failed state. Other examples of a failed state in recent history are Yemen, Iraq, and Syria. And if that's not bad enough news for you, well, Venezuela is also the only one of these places within 30-minute range from the U.S. of next-gen nuclear missiles. You will not hear about any of this on the news because the biggest players on the world stage do not want you to. Russia, China, can never be the most major threat until countries like Venezuela leave the door open to our very own backyard.
I want to remind everybody.
That's what we said like 2 weeks ago.
General Flynn reposted the account that posted that video. He reposted that video. That if General Flynn's sending that comm out, you guys better be paying attention, especially when Trump has positioned our Navy and Marines just north of Venezuela, especially when me and Josh have been telling you about what's going on there, especially when what was one of the first things that Trump had Pam Bondi do when she became AG? Cartels as foreign terrorists, narco terrorists. Why? So he could use the DOD to maneuver against them like we haven't before, where it was only law enforcement and a lot of red tape. And now you have General Flynn posting that. And I wanted to play that as you get into this conversation surrounding Venezuela. Yeah.
So the question then becomes, Alpha, how do you connect, how do you authorize the 2001 AUMF to utilize military to take out this infiltration in our country. In order to do that, you have to make a connection like between Antifa and ISIS, or Antifa and September 11th, or anything. Well, wait, hold on. The pretext to the 2001 AUMF. If people don't know this, it's in the aftermath of September 11th, 2001. Any groups associated with the terror attacks on September 11th, 2001. That means that any information that comes out pertaining to groups associated with the terror attacks on September 11th, 2001, it's free game, and you can utilize military assets directly against them. All right, everybody, here you go. Tucker Carlson just released his new 9/11, September 11th documentary. It's pretty good. I've only seen one episode. Brad's is way better, but this one's pretty good because it gets into the money trail. It gets into the pre-events that happened prior to September 11th. Some of those events are the FBI's tracking. He literally got the FBI agent who was involved in this, the tracking of these terrorists around the world. And Alpha, what you find out is that these terrorists came from Saudi Arabia, and they were granted visas 2 years prior to September 11th from the Riyadh CIA operation station, which at the time was ran by a gentleman by the name of John Brennan. And there was whole back money deals that were occurring through Saudi Arabia and the CIA at that point in time. Now, actually, he constructs the first episode that the CIA was planning a false flag attack. You remember in 1992 when they did the first World Trade Center, how the driver said he ran away from the van because he realized he was being set up. He was hired by the FBI to drive the van in there. When he realized it was real explosives, he ran out and he didn't get all the way in, and that's why they didn't collapse. Well, what you're seeing here was exactly the same thing. It was a CIA false flag event that they were trying to run, and then the terrorists got away from them. Now go to Brad's movie, you'll understand the rest of it. But here's another point of context. Let me ask you this. Because who investigated terrorism financing? Because that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about Saudi Arabia, terrorist financing. John Brennan was the one who recruited these guys, got them passports and visas, and sent them to the United States of America. Well, who covered up the financial trail to ensure that nobody saw the CIA trail of a false flag operation or Saudi Arabia? Who was this, the guy? The person that was the managing assistant district attorney at the Eastern District of Virginia, 1996 to 2001, managing assistant U.S. attorney in Richmond, Virginia, oversaw probes in the Saudi Al-Qaeda financial pipelines in Northern Virginia, the terror corridor. The entities that he investigated, the SAR Foundation, IRO, and WAMI. WAMI, we know, is directly associated with Saudi black money channels to those terrorist organizations. He built a reputation for connecting financial crime to national security threats. All right. In January of 2002, he transferred to the Southern District of New York as the U.S. Attorney General overseeing 9/11 investigations. He was appointed U.S. Attorney by President Bush after September 11th. He took over Twin Tower terror finance investigations, focused global Al-Qaeda funding chains, New York banks, international networks, oversaw intelligence-linked cases like Abdulrahman Al-Mufi, and Al-Qaeda financier, later convicted in the Eastern District of Virginia. Now, why is this important? Because this is the man who came in through the DOJ that should have uncovered the CIA money trail, but instead covered it up. Who is that man?
Initials are JC, and I ain't talking about Jesus Christ.
That's right. It's James Comey. Now, if you go to the Q boards, and I'm going to show this again, I want you to notice something very, very interesting here. Because I just mentioned two names to you. And we're going to pull this up.
Oh, I like this one.
Now, do you see the stacks here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we got 10 and 10, 2 stacks of 10 right here.
Looks like 2 towers to me.
It's 2 towers, and it's posted on September 11th, 2020. Both of them. James Comey, John Brennan. I'll even blow this up so people can kind of get the idea here. The Twin Towers, September 11th, 2020, James Comey, John Brennan. Now, what does that make a connection to, Alpha? The deep state is now directly connected as a co-conspirator in the September 11th attacks, which means that they're co-conspirators in the September 11th attacks. That means that the 2001 authorized use of military force is now activated against them, of which any organization directly associated with any funding means, like lefty organizations, Soros, Arabella Advisors, funding BLM and Antifa, are nothing but ancillary extensions of the same terror group that they operated with back in 2001. And it's integrated globally. In other words, my thoughts are this, is that Donald Trump has gave us all indications that he is commander-in-chief, that right now in the capacity that he's operating in is a military operation. And the military operation that they are operating in is wartime. What do I mean by that? Right now, there is an enemy within their midst, and they are acting very, very peculiar. But the things that they are doing are contradictory. What did I show you earlier? I showed you the Pam Bondi. Pam, how dare you? You're fucking up. And then Pam Bondi's great. That's not Trump who's doing that. That's showing you that there's something going on in the White House, that somebody has control. Well, how do you neutralize that level of control? Because here's the key. You have to neutralize all these levels of control before you take out all the sleeper cell organizations that are already infiltrated into our country and before you start making arrests at a grand scale. You have to neutralize all the command centers of these terrorist organizations. Iran's been neutralized. China's been neutralized. Venezuela, quasi-neutralized. They're not going to fuck around and find out, I assure you. There's only the European Union. Isn't it interesting that when Trump was in the UK last week, that the day he leaves is the day that Keir Starmer comes out and announces that they recognize the state of Palestine? Did you notice that all the states that are, or all the countries recognizing the state of Palestine are all of the Five Eyes nations? Did you notice that they're all ones that Trump has sent diplomats to? Cash was in Australia back in August.
Well, and that's where I want to go. If you guys remember, Pam Bondi had severed a portion of intelligence from Five Eyes regarding, I forget which case it was. At first, we thought she had cut off ties with all of Five Eyes, but it wasn't all. It was regarding a specific investigation. But still, nonetheless, it was the first time publicly that we had cut the cooperation between us and the Five Eyes. At the same time that happens is what you're talking about. Kash Patel heads out there to New Zealand and opens a brand new FBI office
In New Zealand.
in New Zealand, where there's a place called Valhalla, where the
global elite have been building underground bomb shelters for the last 20 years.
And the suspected alleged shooter, Tyler Robinson, has the picture of Goat Island on his computer screen.
So odd.
And it's right there next to Valhalla. I mean, just a lot of coincidences, a whole lot of coincidences.
So my thoughts are this, is that we are in a wartime situation. Donald Trump is an acting wartime president, commander-in-chief, and he is making military moves through proxy, through alliances that are proxy organized, and through direct military moves. The direct military moves are the movement of the National Guard around the country, as well as 20,000 U.S. troops at our southern border. That's because of an imminent threat that potentially could happen. We have the U.S. Navy, 8 U.S. Navy ships, 4,500 Marines, tons of aircraft. Did you see last night they did a ballistic missile test from Puerto Rico, from a nuclear submarine?
I did not see that.
Oh, yeah. This is, I love it.
Wait, yes. I do know what you're talking about. I do know what you're talking about.
They did a ballistic missile test, which nobody even came out and confirmed it, and nobody said anything about it. The military never even came out and said it was a test. They just shot a ballistic missile from a submarine, and we assumed it was a test. But what you're seeing right now is moves and counter moves. And Donald Trump is neutralizing nation-state actors so that they cannot be the command and control centers that initiate their terrorist cells. And then on a large scale, there's one that's already infiltrated our country. It's not Israel. It's the deep state. It's the deep state people. I mean, think about it, right? It doesn't matter what their religious or culture is. It's the deep state through and through. And they've worked through many different mechanisms, and they have ways of influence and control. And what Donald Trump is working through Proxy to neutralize that threat. And I think that the moment that threat is neutralized, which I think will be after tomorrow, by the way, because tomorrow is when Donald Trump is meeting with the Arab nations. So I'm going to put this out there, and I don't like being predictive like this, but I think shit's going to hit. And I think something's going to happen either in Israel or in the Middle East or in New York City tomorrow or the next few days.
Well, hold that thought process, because we're going to get into the deltas between today and next week.
Perfect.
Next
Let's do
week,
it.
so we're going to get in there. But I want to cover a couple things. A couple of these we already covered during the show, so it worked out perfectly. But there's this video that I want to show, and it's loading here, but I want to show the first few seconds of it, and it just finished loading. Perfect timing. So Donald Trumpo posts this video. We're finally getting rid of autism of President Trump speaking. It's a 4-minute video. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'm only going to play the first 30 seconds of it, 35 seconds. And I want you to listen to what he says. And I want you to pick up if he's emphasizing something when he says it. So here's the video. Take a listen.
Thank you very much. So I've been waiting for this meeting for 20 years, actually. And it's not that everything's 100% understood or known, but I think we've made a lot of strides. Wish it was done a long time ago. Today, we're delighted to be joined by America's top medical and public health professionals as we announce historic steps to confront the crisis of autism. Horrible, horrible crisis. I want to thank the man who brought this issue to the forefront of American politics along with me. And we actually met in my office, is it like 20 years ago, Bobby? It's probably 20 years ago in New York. I was a developer, as you probably heard, and I always had very strong feelings about autism and how it happened and where it came from. And
so that's the portion I wanted to play. Now, is there anything that kind of caught your attention?
20 years.
How many times did he say it?
2 times.
3 times.
3 times.
3 times. So out of curiosity, I was just like, it's pretty interesting. Let me go to the boards and see how many times 20 years pops up there. And lo and behold, I believe it was 3 times. So I found that interesting. But what I found even more interesting is, here we go. I can bring them up to show you guys so you guys can see. So you have posts 4631, posts 1957, and posts 996, sorry, that all have the 20 years. And so the one I wanted to read is this one over here, 1957. And it says, it's always been out in the open. You just have to look. You must stay together. Together you are strong. Symbolism equals the end, Q. And then it writes for this particular post. Buy a history book published 20 years ago. Buy a history book published 10 years ago. Buy a history book published this year and compare. Focus on World War I. Focus on World War II. Something alarming will be discovered. And then if we go to this one right here real quick, and this one is 996. Coincidence, another mainstream. Well, let me read the whole thing. Future proofs past, several today, one day, RR military, border, keep watching the news, April, Moab, Q, and then for the post itself, coincidence, another mainstream media narrative change upon release of damaging news. People are waking up. Trace the background of the shooter. Focus on father and 20 years. So I found it very interesting given, again, we're on the heels of the Charlie Kirk. We're talking about the border. He has RR here with, Rod Rosenstein. That comes up in a couple other posts that are relevant to September 21st. But also this part right here, trace the background of the shooter. And again, he says 20 years, and then 20 years. And of course, the boards would have 20 years 3 times. Probably just a coincidence. But I wanted to show that one to you. And then let me fast forward. Unless you can share your thoughts on that one. I'll get this next one right here.
No, keep on going. I'm going to actually pull up something fun, but go ahead.
Okay, so then this next one I want to bring up is right here. This is post 2263. This is a September 21st one. Fake news about to shift narrative against their masters in an effort to weather the storm. Panic everywhere. Patriots are ready. And then this part. Enjoy the rally at the Q tonight. Now, what caught my attention here is when we go, I'm not going to play the video. We've all heard it. And this comes from you posting the video on Stephen Miller. And I whispered back, I am the storm. And this was set at the memorial service, the remembrance of Charlie Kirk. Again, September 21st, the days correlate. Now, somebody told me, and I didn't have a chance to verify it since last night, but that I believe it's the State Farm Arena that they were at, is also known as the Q Center or or something like that. Like I said, I've been able to verify that. I don't know if somebody in the chat's familiar with that, but
that'd be interesting if it was.
It'd be extremely interesting, especially when this says enjoy the rally at the Q tonight. And a lot of people said that his funeral service, felt like a rally when
what was the name of the arena?
I want to say it's the State Farm one in Arizona is where they had Charlie Kirk's place at. And like I said, I got a message from someone last night saying, hey, it's also known as, I think, like the Q Center, the Q building, or something like that. It's okay. So Mystery Rider is saying it's called the Q because the aerial view of it looks like a Q. It is known as the Q. Oh, a bunch of people are saying yes.
Wow.
Known as the Q. So again, on this post right here, enjoy the rally at the Q tonight. And again, September 21st being the day of the funeral service for Charlie.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that one was interesting. So again, I wanted to bring up, and obviously there's a few of them, but I wanted to highlight two regarding the storm. This is post 3581. I like this one because it's November 11th, 11/11, and we've seen a lot of significance to 11/11. And it says, calm before the storm, POTUS, month day, Q public campaign initiated. Again, I think this one, bro, is just another confirmation of we're going to see something with the boards. And I'll give you my take on what I think it might be looking like. And it says, month day, Durham initiated. What famous crime family did Durham target? Also spearheaded mob prosecutions of the Gambino, the Genoverse, and the Patriarcha crime families. What ABC agency did Durham target? How are the messages sent? December 12th, 2018. What if there's another prosecutor outside of DC assigned by Sessions with the same mandate authority? And then Q, do you believe in coincidences? 5x5, be ready, Patriots. And then this next one right here, 55, November 2nd. Look to Twitter, exactly this, my fellow Americans. The storm is upon us. God bless. Any thoughts on that before I shift into a different one?
Yeah. So, I'm still trying to get over the Q Center.
Well, here, while you're trying to get over that one, this again, September 21st, right? It was a lot of posts that are relevant. 2254. We are at the precipice. For so long, we have anticipated this. A lot of people have said it. We've all kind of been very hesitant and wanted to pull back on predictions and timelines. But again, this is September 21st, this day of Charlie Kirk's funeral. We're at the precipice. The swamp fighting back. Remain calm. We are here for a reason. Patriots are in control. And I believe that's my last one for the September 21 dates. And then I'll move into the
so
other
let me pull this up real quick because it pertains to what? This is the night of Charlie Kirk's assassination.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah.
Now, what did he just say there? To my fellow, and look what he posted on X. To my fellow Americans. Look to Twitter, exactly this, right?
Right.
So break this down. Very interesting timestamp, 21:15 timestamp. Specific timing rests with POTUS. Hint, expend ammunition. Think New York Times ADON article, the world is watching. Okay. Now, why is that important? Because we actually just discussed this exact timestamp the week before this all happened, because it leads directly to this one. The JC tweet about standing tall over the last 8 months, activate sleeper cells. I think he was saying in 8 months to activate. That's what we were talking about last week we said, oh, is something going to happen on September 10th, September 11th timeframe? And then what does Q say? Do you believe in coincidences? New York Times Anon source, sleeper cells, 2112. So when we look at this, DEFCON 0, we talked about this. Did Trump just confirm this was the timestamp? Specific timing, arrest with POTUS, declass and arrest inbound. Hint, expend ammunition. When do your enemies expend ammunition? Right before something big is about to drop. Now think of Charlie Kirk. And then think about the world is watching. The event captures the world attention. So I think that this potentially was, looked at Twitter exactly this, my fellow Americans. The storm is upon us. Because then what does Stephen Miller just say? I am the storm. I mean, I think we're there.
And here's the other one that'll confirm. Well, I believe this confirms that we're there. Granted, it's at the precipice. Dan Scavino posted this one. Another plane comms with Air Force One. Mm-hmm. Air Force One has a little emoji of the plane, Andrews Air Force Base. And when we go down to the timestamp, it's September 21st again, and 8:47 my time. So this would be 11:47 p.m. Eastern. So 11:47 or 23:47. So if we go to 11:47, this is the post, April 15th. Public interest, keep high. Uranium One FBI informant, A1 DWS, Packy, Intel, MB, tarmac meeting. And then it says coincidences, SC, Supreme Court, L/LL, Loretta Lynch, deal drop, POTUS tweet. Tarmac, coming soon to a theater near you. And again, where's Air Force One right here? On the tarmac.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's just...
So remember we were talking earlier about context. That's the context that we're talking about.
And so I believe that this one is giving the confirmation for this. And I remember this is 11:47. Yeah, that's 11:47. So this is the civilian time. Now, when you go to the military time of 23:47, this is why I think we're about to see Q come back, bro. Important moment in time. The picture will be the signifier. The signifier will force the Q. The Q will be answered. Where we go one, we go all. So when you look at the accumulation of Trump put out that message, like you said, we're looking at the confirmations, all these things that line up with 921, battle stations ready, buckle up, Buttercup. When you look at the totality of everything that we've covered in at least the last 3 DEFCONs, it really sets the stage that we're about to see the emergence of Q. Now, this is a hunch. Let me pull this off the screen real quick. It's a hunch built off of, my intuition this is how I've always operated, from my time as a detective. There's something that I get this hunch, I get this discernment. A lot of times you can't put it on paper the way you would love to for a DA or a prosecutor, right? But you just know you're right about this. And so you set yourself to have a certain filter on your lens. When I look at the last couple of years and the things that we've seen, Josh, the filtration process, and one of the things that we see right now is we see conning being exposed. We see the people that have exploited Q being exposed. We see this filtration process that's unfolding. And one of the reasons I found, to have this conversation where we can put together a Q, like a Q basic training type thing, through the way me and you kind of like to see this and work with it, is because I think when Q resurfaces, it's not going to be the way it's been historically.
Nope.
It is going to be,
yes, publicly.
It is going to be public, and it's going to be RT, real time, which means this is not going to be about drawing lines and decoding. It's going to be about interpreting real-time, actionable intelligence. And I think they want to be able to make sure that there are people that know who to go to listen for that. And you say, well, why do you think that? And part of that reason is, let me see if I can find this to bring it up, because General Flynn says so in so many words. Let me see if I can find it. And I was just like, this is exactly, here it is, Patrick Bet-Davis. Sorry, let me switch screens here for you guys. He reposted Patrick Bet-Davis a post that he put out. And Patrick just articulated this well. So let me zoom in so you guys can all see a little bit better. So General Flynn says, excellent posts by PBD. Steady everyone and stay informed by those you trust the most. So let's click on, and I want to read it. It's very short, but I want you guys to, I think this is what I was trying to at least explain right now, Josh. This is by far the worst time to jump to conclusion. Selective bias is at an all-time. Assumptions at an all-time high. Name calling at an all-time high. People want their theories to be validated. It doesn't mean they're right or wrong, but no one knows 100% of everything. Listen to everyone's perspective, but don't join any mob. Think for yourself. It's very hard to rise above the noise today. You're better off trusting no one today than trusting 100% of what an individual says today. Trust, but verify on steroids. No one wants the temperature to increase except for the enemy, some domestic, some foreign. This message won't be well received by those who want chaos or have little to lose. May we continue to seek God's favor. Future looks bright. And again, this is signed off by the general.
100%. You know, I'm absolutely convinced. And this last week, I don't usually do this, but I asked Dan Scavino on one of his posts. I said, Dan, can we get a 1717 post? And dude, it was like 4:40, or yeah, it was 3:47, right? So I'm like, oh, well, that's 4:47 Eastern time. So that's like a half an hour away. So I'm going to wait. And around 5:14, Trump starts just auto posting, boom, boom, posting. Stops at 5:16, then continues about 10 minutes later. And I'm like, son of a bitch. But Alpha, that night, Donald Trump took the stage. And listen to what he says here. Now, a little background before I play it. Is the money Donald Trump has raised to bring into the United States of America is estimated about $13.5 trillion that he has earmarked for the United States of America. Remember that, because I follow this very closely.
I was over there, you know, sir, 1 year ago, you were a dead country. Actually, studies like that's such a tough one. It's tough, but it's true. We were a dead country. We were going to be a non-country. And now we've got the hottest country anywhere in the world. There's no country as hot as we are. Under all 4 years of Biden, only $1 trillion of new investment came into the United States. So that's 4 years, $1 trillion. It's a little less than that. Under 8 months of Trump, we've already secured commitments of $17 trillion. If you take the good years that we've had, it's just a small fraction. Think of it. It's going to be more than $17 trillion for the year. And this is, you know, essentially we're talking about up till that point, 8 months. 17 trillion. There's never been any country that's done anything like that. There's never been.
I don't know about you, but I think that was an answer from them saying, I said I wanted a 1717 post. And what does he do? $17 trillion. 17 trillion. I know it's not 17 trillion.
It's not 17
Guys,
trillion.
they hear you. They hear us.
They absolutely do.
And listen, they know what they're doing. Listen, I have absolute trust and faith in Donald Trump and General Michael Flynn. The reason being is because these guys know that if our country got taken over by a foreign adversary, you would have 3, 5, 8, 10, 20 million armed Americans marching. Like, guys, there's a backup plan. Understand that.
There is a contingency that we don't want to see play out.
And I think that the world knows this. And here, this is the biggest part of it all. The globalists are dead in their tracks. They can't do anything. Right now, they are screwed for at least a generation. You want to know why? Because you woke up. because you are awake, that the world is awake, the people are awake, the people are seeing what's happening. You got to remember, they are a very, very small minority. Joe Biden did not get 82 million votes in 2020. He got somewhere around 27 million votes, and that's even probably with cheating. We are so overwhelmingly the majority. Guys, any country that tried to invade us right now would just unite us. Any foreign adversary that tried to undermine us would only be sealing their own grave. Okay?
There's something that's so unexplainable. And I remember I first witnessed this in 2021. It was late 2021. It was right at the beginning when I started doing my podcast. It was right when Twitter had launched the beta version. So yeah, it was probably like mid to late 2021, but it launched the beta version of X Spaces. And we get in there, and as Americans, we're at each other's throat, right? Fulfilling the establishment's wants for left versus right, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it would just be heated. I'm sure a lot of people have been here, have been witness to something like that on whatever platform. But on this one particular evening, this foreigner comes in. He's an Aussie, and I love my Aussies, but this wasn't a good Aussie. He comes in, starts trashing on America, right? Because he sees the chaos. And I saw this thing unfold in real time, Josh. Everybody turned their voices towards him, and everybody started attacking him.
Yep.
So you had the people that were, liberals, the people that are conservatives at each other's throat. Guy comes in, starts trashing America. Boom. Everybody focuses their muzzles on this guy, and they start going at him. Boom, 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 boom. Relentless. And I said, holy shit. As much anger as we have towards each other, there's something still unique in the American spirit that when an outside entity wants to attack us, we drop the color of our jerseys and we just defend America.
Yep.
And that would be exponentially greater in the event of worst case scenario, kinetic conflict, because that's the last contingency we bring this country to. So I want to fire through these last ones, and then I want to hit you with the theory real quick. You mentioned John Solomon earlier tonight, and I found that very interesting because we've already covered a lot of the September 21st. 22nd was dry, but on September 23rd, post 4752, 1207 on the screenshot, 1206 on the actual post, but it says John Solomon. Caution, this account is temporarily restricted. Now, I found this interesting for a few reasons. One, because me and you have talked about John Solomon a lot, and that we both believe that he's at least read into a point. But two, you also have YouTube that came out today, and kind of said, hey, we kind of screwed the pooch on all these people that we deplatformed, and we need to start bringing people back. And that's similar to, this account is temporarily restricted, but nonetheless, it's John Solomon reports. So I wanted to put that out there for you. I'm just going to fly through these.
By the way, what do you notice at the bottom of that image? That image right there was that posted by Q? Or was that an Anon who posted that and Q responded?
No, there's no response to it. So this looks like it's a post that Q put. Here, let me zoom out so you can get a better look at it.
Yep, FYI, John. Yep. So this is a Q post. Okay. But I want you to look at the bottom of that because there's more clues.
Oh,
that are being let on.
The screenshots that are there, they're small. Let me try
That's
to.
Right.
Here, because I added up this here, 6,578 tweets. I wanted to see what that added up to because I was very curious. But when you go over here, it's obviously the screenshot we're looking at. Something that you can't. It's
that
hard.
Was intentional.
Oh, I agree.
I don't remember what the decode was on this a while back, but that was absolutely intentional. And you can kind of make out a little bit. It looks like some type of facility or something like that.
Yeah. It looks like a packing warehouse is the best that I can get out of it.
Yep. Which is interesting. And then it looks like a screenshot of a text message. I don't know. I just found that interesting, but go on.
All right. So then we get into September 25th. 4766. This is interesting because we're 2 days away from this, and Trump pulled the trigger on this already. Designates the KKK and Antifa as terrorist organizations. 2 defounded financially legally backed orgs. DA set free blockade post terrorist designate. DA no proof individual linked to Antifa argument coming. Antifa mapping began long ago, which goes into the thing you explained to us earlier in the show. But like I said, they almost did that to the day because, like I said, this is on the 25th. Today's the 23rd.
Yeah.
If we go into, why did I bring this one up? Hold on. Oh, this is just one that has Antifa on it. So 4393, and then it's reposting 14, SCIF military intelligence. And at the bottom, why is Antifa allowed to operate? Full circle. Let's see if we keep going. Now we get to September 24th. Midnight Riders Ride, information warfare. Put that out in case there was anything you felt like saying about that one.
Well, that's what it's all about, is information warfare, right?
All right, let's go to the next one then. 4762. So I mean, you brought this up earlier, which was interesting because it's the 3 stars not long ago. And that's the Delta. You said that's
Not long now. Not long now.
Yeah, thank you. We go to 4759. This is also the 24th. And again, you saw this one all over social media. Never forget those in the background. And then you have the picture is hard to see here, but it's Ruth Ginsburg. That's on the right portion over there. But if you go here, is this any relevance to you right here? You see what I'm looking at?
Yeah, I remember decoding that back in the day. I don't remember what it was, but that did have relevance there. But I want to point something out for you. Okay. So what's that delta for that?
This is let me go to it real quick. This is from the 24th.
Okay, let me throw something up real quick.
All right, let me take this down.
Dan Scavino on September 18th.
Oh, that's very interesting that he did on the 18th because
he says, yep, Air Force One 5 years ago tonight.
And here's the other thing that's interesting. He posted on the 18th, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the 2 numbers on there that I showed you at the top were 9 and 9. 9 and 9 is 18.
Look at that.
That's very interesting right there.
Wow.
If we keep firing through, there was 11 for September 24th. None that stuck out that we didn't cover already. So then we'll go into the 25th. The 25th had 8 of them. And the 4772 was interesting, just given what's mentioned in it. Never bring an arrow in a quiver to a LOSBR missile fight.
Line of sight missile fight.
So, that's a little interesting. 4767. Some will take the easy path and exit early. That's going to play into something coming up here in a little bit. And we covered the KKK terrorist one. So we covered the ones that I think were any relevance. There was 4 from September 26. One links to a military.com video. The other one obviously has President Trump. And then you have one with the other ones that just has these data sheets that are on there. Goes into Durham, but most of the stuff that's in here is referencing next week. And so then if we go into September 27th, you have the license plates from Asia that are on there. You have, it looks like a Chinese flag that's here. And yeah, there's nothing that I remember. Like I said, we covered those earlier in the show. And I don't think there was anything else really. Yeah.
Well, what you have is September 25th, 4770. Done in 30, house cleaning, White House secured, final stage. Which I think has massive relevance to what we're talking about right now.
Oh, and I thought I had them on the screen the whole time. My apologies, folks. It's okay. I probably kept you guys from getting dizzy anyways. There's a bunch of them for September 28th. Like like I said, nothing that really stuck out, with the exception of, I think it might be on the next one. Yeah. Yeah, the every vote counts one is popping up a lot. And then we get into the final one, September 29th. There's 10 posts that are here. This particular one that's highlighted on 4793. Who is in charge of the Trump Swift boat project? Needs to be ready, funded, and unleashed when we decide, but not on a half-ass scramble. That sounds like military jargon, reference an operation. If we were to, think so right now, Hillary Clinton comes back in on whether it was an accident or not because of the book that had some of the satanic stuff that was listed in it. And that's about it, man. From that.
Awesome.
So then here's the theory that I wanted to hit you up with. And I'll make it quick. This is just a theory, folks. I don't want people to get all mad. I'll just say this, just to set up the conversation here. If I told people, hey, Tucker Carlson, CIA, there's a large portion of people that are like, yeah, I agree, especially given his dad's history, given that he wanted to be a part of it. People just wouldn't hesitate on that. Now, let me play this video.
I thought you were going to tell everybody I was CIA.
No, I wouldn't burn you like that. JD Vance posted this. JD Vance, the VP, posted this video. And interesting enough, the video is 1 minute and 7 seconds.
Oh, interesting.
And like I said, VP posted it, not me. So here it goes. We're gonna play the whole video, and then I'll see if you guys can figure out where I'm going with this. Okay, so I'm gonna ask for some leniency in thought process here, folks. Because like Josh, once I get my mind on something, I start to dig and dig and dig because I want answers. And as we know it, Charlie Kirk was a podcaster. He was an activist, right? He ran Turning Point USA. But you've seen the vice president receive his body. Now, I'm open to the argument, well, there was a close friendship there. I'm good with that. But then you also see that it goes beyond that.
Pallbearers were military.
Pallbearers were military.
Military crew and staff took him into Air Force One.
Air Force Two.
Or Air Force Two.
Into Air
Which
Force
is a
Two,
military jet. By the way.
Which is a military jet. So I started researching because there's something here, Josh. There was something here. Because I was like, is there precedence to this? And there's not, outside of somebody that was not a head of state or in the military, or it's not there. It's not. You would have people that are present for the funeral, people like MLK, things like that. But to receive the body, have the pallbearers be military, hand off to military, use military flights. And here's the other thing. At his funeral service, you had almost the entire continuity of government present, bro.
Yeah, except for Scappa Cent.
Yeah, that's it. Now, I respect Charlie Kirk. I like Charlie Kirk. Didn't agree with him on everything, but I agreed with him on most things. I would not argue that he's not a man of God.
So
but you have,
in other words, they're treating it as a casualty of war.
Yes. Now, The reason when you went today and said, hey, we get these people from different special forces units and we task them with jobs that go and look civilian. And that's why I was smiling when you set me up, because I promise you folks, these shows aren't script. We tell each other a few notes on things we want to discuss, and that's it. That's why I wanted to bring up that CIA post, because what did the CIA say? We're mechanics, we're teachers, we're this, we're everywhere. We know from what Doge uncovered and what President Trump said, that the deep state was using USAID to what? Fund 60,000 journalists. Do you think for a second the good guys weren't doing the exact same thing? Fuck yeah, they were. They're gonna rely on people like me and Josh that they know we're gonna see the info and we know how to jump into the current, but they can't only rely on that. They gotta have contingencies where they know there's people that are read in, there's people that have skiffs, and they just wear the title of podcaster, Substack writer, but they control 100% of how they're going to roll with that content. They're the guide rails or the beacons that sometimes signal to us, make sure we're all, individualized, but that we're still oriented and we have the same azimuth. And I'm telling you, something just feels to me was he DOD? Was he CIA? Was he Space Force?
And what is Trump gonna award him here in the next few days?
Medal of Freedom.
President's highest civilian honor.
So the way it's been handled and the way everything looks,
he basically had a state funeral in Arizona.
Yes. Dude, you had the DNI talk, the Secretary of War talk, the VP talk. You had RFK Jr. talk, and then the president talk, bro. That was a state funeral, bro.
Well, and Trump actually authorized a state funeral for him. So Congress actually authorized a state funeral for him to have be his casket in the rotunda. I don't know if they're going to still do that, but they did authorize it.
And there we go, and listen,
which tells you something.
It's definitely telling me something, because here's what I'll say is, where there's one, there's more.
Yeah.
And you can see that there were some claws that immediately wanted to take over and push the agenda and wanted to hijack Turning Point USA.
Well, from its inception. They were trying to do it. And I think that it was guided for a while by that financing and funding. And Candace Owens is doing a good job of asking the right questions to all of this. And by the way, don't be mad at Candace Owens. She's simply just asking questions and following the information where it takes her. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you've noticed how Erica has not came out and said anything about all the conspiracy theories or Candace or any of these things. There's a reason for that. But Andrew Colvett, he keeps on digging himself a bigger and bigger hole every time that he fucking talks. And he seems like he got over the mourning part really fast of Charlie's death. I don't know. That's just very odd to me, but we can talk about that another time. In the sense of Charlie, I'm curious if he was in the Gates program, Gifted and Talented Children. Because that would be one of the primary things that they actually recruit through.
I remember that.
Yeah, the GATE program. I was screened for it in 3rd grade.
Yeah, same here.
I had reading problems, but my brain goes too fast. I just couldn't comprehend.
I love your brain. You said we know that the White Hats put out comms with us.
Yeah.
But sometimes they got to put out comms for the deep state. And the way I see this, what I saw, especially the way Trump was hugging Erica, and Erica, my hats off to her. I don't have it in me to, I don't think at least I have it in me to forgive someone that would kill a loved one of mine. I don't think I could have that kind of heart that she has. So again, my hats off to her on that. But the way Trump was hugging her was like, you can forgive. I'm going to be your retribution.
Oh, if you saw the look on his face when she clasped me, he's like, you could see it in his eyes. It was like, Nessum Dorma, motherfuckers.
And I think he sent this comm here to the deep state, bro. The black and white photo. And what I've noticed with these black and white photos recently is they're usually very aggressive in the comms. So this is 2:12 p.m. So this would be 3, 4, 5:12 or 17:12 Eastern time. And it says this is the turning point with the American flag. And so when you go to posts,
oh, I love it. Yep, stand the
17:12.
fuck down.
Let me zoom in on this so everybody can see this.
Ah, oh no, you got to go read the post. I remember, dude. I didn't post this, but yes.
Here, so let me zoom in so I can see it. So one is
so hold on. So you think this is some sort of game? Do you not understand that you are fucking with the people's livelihoods here? They are real people's lives we're talking about. This is wrong on so many levels. You're all the you of all things, you're so big and tough behind that screen. You worthless, redneck, racist, inbred piece of shit. You have no idea who and what you're going up against. Let me make something astoundingly clear to the cesspool and its inhabitants. You're not all as anonymous as you think you are. Far from it. What you're doing is tantamount to terrorism, and trust me, there will be serious repercussions. That's all I have to say. Then it says, stand the fuck down, and then it says this. Go all the way to the bottom. Put to death, therefore, whatever belongs to your earthly nature, sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desires, and greed, which is adultery. Because of these, the wrath of God is coming. Colossians 3:5. Evil has no place in this world. Holy shit.
And that's why I think we are finally at that precipice, bro.
Oh,
like
we
you
are
said.
at that precipice. Man.
There's a few other posts. You guys can go watch my show from last night. You can go watch Josh's shows from last night. I think between the two of us, we pretty much clean sweep the entire information that's upcoming. And like I said, there's stuff that says there's one particular post that says next week, suicide. So is that telling us we're 3 weeks away, or is it telling us the next 3 weeks? But nonetheless, that all starts next week. So eyes out for that. But that's my theory, bro. That I wanted to close it up.
I think that you might be onto something with Charlie, and who knows if he was recruited and said, hey, look, we have a mission for you. We just need you to keep on doing what you're doing. And maybe that's one of the reasons they took him out, because you have to understand the significance of Turning Point. They redefined the GOP, the Republican Party, and they were moving it away from ISIS Rael.
I almost forgot this. Shout out to my boy who's watching the show, because don't forget to mention the timing. Remember, we talked about this because you posted it and it went viral. Don't forget to mention the timing of the CIA post and the phone call question about Erica. So we know that.
I can play it.
Yeah, please bring it up.
Is it went absolutely fucking viral?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. So,
and you know something, dude, I'm telling you right now, and I don't have a big social media following. I think I got like 45,000 on X right now. I have been amplified beyond anything you can ever imagine the last 2 weeks. Amplified. I mean, guys, I go from about 1,900 views on a post to this last week, I'm getting 6.5 million on a video. Do you understand that? So this is the video right here that went viral.
After this, we'll do the Rumble rants and the super chats and everything.
There's a question about who's going to lead the team going forward and who's going to lead this enormously important organization. And I understand you have some news on that front.
Yeah. Since everything has happened, I think the number one question is what is going to happen with Turning Point? What is going to happen next? And I'm pleased to be able to announce with you, and I think it's appropriate because of who you are and who this person is, that the Turning Point board has unanimously selected Erica Kirk as the new CEO and chair of the board. And not only is that amazing in and of itself, but I can assure you, Megan, that Charlie told me personally, and he told others, he probably told Mikey, that if anything ever happened to him, that this is exactly what he wanted.
Wow. I have the chills.
Now here's the part.
It had to be, right? I mean, there's just, I don't think anybody would accept a leader of the organization who they didn't feel completely understood Charlie and would be 100% dedicated to fulfilling his vision for where this group is going.
Well, and let me just add one more thing, and I want Mikey to chime in here as well. But in the immediate hours afterwards, Erica got a call from somebody very important. Leave that vague, out of privacy, but she got a call from somebody very important. And the question was, what do you know? Sort of asking how much of what's going on behind the scenes and with the relationship, like, what do you know? And her reply back was, everything. I know everything.
Now, this is important. Okay. Number one thing is community notes were brought up on this post. Needs context. Erica was being asked about what she knows about Turning Point USA operations. Following this, they put her in as CEO. Actually, dumbass, whoever put that community note up, that's not true. Why do we know that? Because
I need to tell her.
Andrew says it again here, but listen to what he says.
At this point,
I don't think I need to tell Erica that.
Yeah.
Erica is very shrewd. She's very smart. She's very sharp. There's a great story. I can't really tell you who this was, but it was a very important person. And it happened within hours of the news. And the call goes in. She takes it because it was a very important person. And the question was to her, okay, so just as a starting point, like, what do you know? And I think it was in reference to like Charlie's world, his work, his mission. Like, how much do you like know about what he was doing? Like, what was he doing? But it was inferred. It was like, so what do you know? And she was like, I know everything.
Now, I want you to take that in the context because, firstly, people are trying to say, oh, it was about Turning Point. He clearly says, I don't know what the conversation was about, but it seems to be about Charlie's world, Charlie's mission, what Charlie was doing in his life. And she comes out and says, I know everything. Now go back to what Alpha just said. If that was President Trump, what do you know about Charlie? And she says, I know everything, as in, yeah, I know what was going on.
And the reason she would know everything, because here's what I will say. Stipulating that I'm right to some fashion, was Charlie recruited by good guys in the CIA, Space Force, DOD, you know, whatever aspect, but in a role that was government related.
Mm-hmm.
When you accept that kind of mission, you know, especially like if I took a UC mission, there's a very limited amount of people that are going to know, including your husband or your wife. You're not going to tell them. They think you're on a business trip. You know, they think you're on this, they think you're on that. There's just certain things because the level of security that's involved with it. There's only one time. Well, I'll say this. There's very few times, I would argue probably only one time, where you would ever break protocol and probably pull your wife or your husband into your own rendition of your home skiff and disclose more going on. And that would be if you knew all of a sudden there was an immediate threat to your life and the potential that you might not survive this, and you want this person to know the truth for, and who knows the motives behind that.
So Alpha, I want to confirm, give you a little hint of evidence of confirmation of what you're just talking about. Hold on. Let me pull this up. You see the name, but let's go here. Let's go here. What is this? Who is the head person who started the whole Reawaken America tour?
This would be Clay Clark and General Flynn. Just saying, folks. We'll see. You know, that's one of those things that I don't think we could ever get solid confirmation on. And if we do, I think it's highly unlikely because things that are secrecy have to maintain secrecy because of operational security. But I'm telling you, and like I said, it's one of those things you can never really put on paper. But you've heard this, the saying game recognized game, right? Well, I could go into another city in Southern California, go to a bar, go to an establishment, a club, whatever, and I can tell you that motherfucker's a UC. And my buddies be like, what? Explain it. You just know. There's an energy and a frequency that is carried by someone when there's more to them than meets the eye.
Right.
There just is. And it's one of those skill sets that has really helped me in this movement to kind of piece together certain things, good and bad. So with that, let's get into the Rumble rants. We got some Badlands boosts, we got YouTube super chats, and we got the Rumble rants. You guys, thank you for supporting our show and doing that. So before we do that, though, let me play our last commercial, and then when we come back from this commercial, we will do the super chats. So here you guys go. And I love this because I use this stuff.
Deodorant should do more than cover you up. It should protect you all day long.
Dude, the deodorant stick is legit. I like the mint one. And, you go work out and you kind of get like, you get funky if you work out. Dude, like at the end of my workout, like I'm sweating, shirt got all those sweat. Like I'm like, dude, I still smell good. Like I absolutely love it. If you guys haven't tried it, try it.
That's the difference with Soft Disclosure. No aluminum, no chemicals, just clean, natural ingredients that fight odor and keep you fresh through every workout, every meeting, every moment.
I've always struggled with the you can't use aluminum deodorant because you're going to die if you use it kind of thing, because all of the non-aluminum deodorant products suck pretty much. Yeah. This is different. This is all day. You're all day good, and you're not putting any of that disgusting chemicals right near your lymph nodes.
Soft Disclosure deodorant, real protection, real freshness, built on truth. Available in mint and lemon grapefruit. Visit softdisclosure.com and use promo code Badlands for 15% off.
Soft Disclosure. Soft Disclosure. I absolutely love that. All right, folks, let's get into that. We'll do that. Let's start off with the Badlands boost first. We got, let me refresh just in case any came in at the last second. We got two from DEFCON tonight. Stephanie 0627, $5 boost. It's possible Charlie was part of the 60,000 army. He didn't get into West Point, but maybe something bigger. I'm a trauma OR nurse, and it's all off. The blood, the lack of blood moving, the body, moving someone with a neck injury, putting in an SUV. I'm there. I hear you on all of that stuff there. We got another boost coming in from Raw Shark Lives. Wow, $117 boost, man. Gentlemen, I just wanted to show my support for your work. Nothing can stop what is coming. Where we go one, we go all. And whatever acronyms are needed to say, I put my faith in Jesus and Trump. Salute. Right on. And so now let's move into the YouTube super chats, and then we'll wrap it up with the Rumble rants, and then we got a tribute for Boone. Peace dropping a $4.99 super chat. Great show. So happy to be able to watch on YouTube. Thanks, fellas. Thank you. Peter Frederick, $10. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. And Twin Sister, $10. Thank you, guys. The puzzle is almost completed. I really feel like it is getting very close. And then let's move into our Rumble rants now. $20 coming in from Mac 5x5. I await in eager anticipation. Good evening, friends. Well done, Alpha and Josh, the Batman and Robin of the Anon community. Where we go one, we go all. Like that. Thank you. $20 coming from RPG 3573. In memory of John Rader.
My good buddy, man, from the Red Pill Project, one of our family members. He passed away this last week as well.
Man, we lost some good ones in September, man. Heavy hearts, 100%. $10 from Andy Pearson. Heading to Mexico, October 6th to the 13th. Been trying to get the group to reschedule, but no one wants to. Should I be worried about all hell breaking loose while I'm there? Here's what I'll say to that, Andy. And ultimately, the decision rests on you. But the last, 4.5 years, especially under Biden's administration, and we started doing these guard events. I had a lot of hesitation. I was like, what if I go and while I'm at one of these events, something's going to pop off, and we can't live that way. Do your due diligence, but I would just say keep your head on a swivel, and have a contingency, because you
I
might
ain't
not
going
be.
to Mexico. Jeez. Like, you're going to go on vacation. Go to somewhere.
Hey, listen, there's some beautiful places in there.
Well, Acapulco. I've been to Cancun. I've been to Acapulco. I've been to Puerto Vallarta. I've been to Mazatlan. I've been to all of them. They're all beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not going there on vacation anytime soon. That's just me. But use your own discretion. You'll be fine.
Yeah,
all-inclusive resorts. They're fine.
And just, you're talking to two military guys here. Have a contingency, and just because you flew in doesn't mean you can fly out. I'm serious. My family knows I have like 10 backup plans just for a trip to Disneyland. Have areas where that there's boats that can get you back to the States, or wheeled transportation that can get you back to States, or have a place that is very US friendly in the area you're going, or how close you are to US embassy. Like,
I typically will fly anywhere in the United States, just because I got to take guns with me and I need a way out.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. You ask us, and me and Josh are going to give you like the A-team contingency plan. Like, you're going to be like, man, it's too much hassle. I'm just not going to go. But that's just the way we operate. $20 coming in from Stony CK girl. Stony CK girl. Okay, that makes sense. Thanks for the great show, guys. Highly recommend you watch Tucker Carlson's 9/11 5-episode documentary on 9/11, especially episode 5. Okay. Josh already had me sold, but I'll take that solid confirmation. $10 coming in. The final demand. Let's see. STQ posts are a primer to the Bible you read. A post scripture, one day it means nothing. In time, you read the same thing again, and it changes your entire perception. You started my journey back to Christ. That's awesome. 100%. 17 coming in from Hevsky. Do you think the Dems are stupid enough to force a government shutdown? Schumer is starting to cave a little today, and I hope they do it shut down. Trump will have a field day. Well, remember, it's an establishment. The Democrats and Republicans work hand in hand. It's full of rhinos. We don't have enough of the good ones in there, but there's Trump and the White Hats, the Trump team, they have contingencies for every scenario. Whether shut down, there's contingencies on how to continue the operation. And remember, like Josh had to mention earlier, the predictive analytics is not something that just the bad guys have, folks. $5 coming in from I'm One Grateful. What about the Ukraine influence? Paid mercenaries and given new Israeli settlements in Ukraine, possible proxy of Israel. I would say go and watch the show that I did on Sunday with Ghostbase of Patrick Henry. We actually had this conversation specifically, and it's a quick show. It's the Middle East in 20 minutes ish. So you're definitely going to get that answered in under 30 minutes. I don't know if you want to say something real quick to it, Josh.
I covered it all last week in my shows as well. Yes. So what about Ukraine influence? Ukraine is an proxy extension of all of this.
$20 coming in from Lestoni69. What do you think of Laura Luna? Do you mean Laura? I think probably meant Laura Loomer. There's information there's information she puts out that I absolutely agree with her on. There's stuff that she puts out that I think is absolutely pushing an agenda. So that's
more so recently pushing an agenda.
100%. Dollar for dollar coming in from ZBM. So they don't want the malicious to help. Very interested. Never would have thought they would utilize our numbers. Loving this show, guys. Here's the issue with the militias. Anything that is formally organized is going to have infiltration. And even things that are meant to look like they're grassroots and spontaneous. Again, predictive analytics. They already know who's who in every city and county all across coast to coast. So the issue we always deal with there is infiltration, which is, we can always talk about that in another conversation. $2 from Stuck Patriot. Are there any posts regarding Think Mirror that is relevant at the moment? Nothing that I can. My brain's kind of tired.
Yeah.
Nothing I can think of right off the back.
My brain's really tired. Sorry.
Dollar for dollar again. ZBM question: is it a good idea or a bad idea to start having militias train with alongside the military? Always been curious about this. I would say here's my personal thought. Since they kind of run hand in hand, these is you can't win this war with a kinetic response.
Nope.
And the reason being is if I was to tell everybody right now, give me the names of the 1% of the 1%. Most people can't. Most people can't get past the Nancy Pelosi's, the Schumers, the Benjamin Netanyahu's, and even the really advanced ones that can get into the bloodlines still don't know who they answer to. So at the end of the day, is if you had a kinetic response and you don't know who's the ultimate leader of your opposition, then you can only go so far. And then again, you don't know the infiltration that's already been preceded into your movements, so that in the event that a kinetic response unfolded, they would have control of the way we answer anyways. And there's a reason they want civil war and chaos and revolution, because that is the environment they can survive in. And again, like General Flynn said, and Boone, is information warfare. You win it with information, and you win it by doing actionable things to that, becoming locally involved in your community. So there's my long answer to that one. $17 from Tanner Cat 7. The DEFCON ZERQ team is a national treasure. Prayers and much love, guys. Alpha and Josh Rock. Thank you so much for all you do. Thank you for that. $25 from Hope Continues. Alpha and Josh, your show is always fantastic. Thank you for your work. $5 from Peyton Pooh. Alpha and Josh, always glad to lose sleep to catch this live. God bless. Speak truth to power. Trust me, me and Josh are exhausted. We're hungry. We're tired. Our brains are smoked, but we will do this with you guys as long as we can. $17 from Miss Rhea, Freedom Fighter. Great show, Alpha and Josh.
Thank you, Miss Rhea.
$5 from Kira F. I was also screened for Gate. I failed, likely because I didn't see the Satanism in the ink blots. Just saying.
The dead cat. It's a dead cat. It's a dead. Pretty sure that's a dead cat.
I just see mushrooms. $20 from Andy Artis. Mind blown. My mind's blown, and I'm right next to this guy. I feel you on that, Andy. $70 from True Deplorable. Yes, Alpha and JD said Charlie was in a group text with him and members in the highest levels of government, and Trump said Charlie would call him all the time. Definitely food for thought. $20 from Lynn Yoda. Love your show. Thanks for all you do.
Thanks,
and that concludes the Rumble Rants. Josh, where can people find your work? And then we will call it a night, brother.
Yeah, redpillproject.substack.com. That's one of the best places. Or follow me on X. If you're listening on X, please just go on over there at Real Joshua Reid. Last name is REID. And then if you need help finding all those links and didn't catch them, redpills.tv, redpills.tv.
There you have it, folks. AlphaWarrior.tv, or all our links are down in the description below. Go watch the show I did last night. Search out the Alpha Warrior show on Rumble. It's a long-ass show, just like tonight was a long-ass show. One more coming in at the very last second. ZBM dollar for dollar. Random question. Do y'all think that the Duke was one of the deep state Hollywood puppets or an actual outlier? I will answer that next Tuesday, because I actually looked into something like that and here's what I'll say, ZBM. Research White Hat and the origins, and you'll find it very interesting. I believe the two, if I remember correctly, it's been about 2 or 3 years, but I believe they run hand in hand with that question, but we'll have fun with that next week. So with that, folks, we're going to call it a night. Go follow us, smash the thumb, hit the like, leave comments. That helps with the algorithm. We've hit number 2. The highest we've gone DEFCON is number 2. We've never hit number 1 on the leaderboard. We're hoping we can solve that. And with that, we'll finish with a tribute to Boone. And then after that, the show will be over. So thank you guys for supporting the show. We'll catch you next time. God bless and simplify.
Much love. Take care, guys.